Texas has got to come back to the left side here if they're going to have success.
And they do. Robinson flushed. Touchdown, Texas.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Stroud launching for the end zone. Jump ball. Touchdown, Smith and Jigba. Are you kidding me?
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Third and 2 more plays if they need them. Here comes Will Anderson storming around the corner. Down goes Bennett.
Got him. Had a corner blitz on that time.
Sikkim 365 Radio is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
First down and 15. Time to throw it. Johnston up top and intercepted by Ringo. Kylie Ringo.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Corral on 2nd and 15 as they're chopping down on his legs, and then they take him down high as well. Ika finished it.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Paul Catalina to my left and Craig Smoak to my right, David Smoak. And thanks to all of our amazing sponsors who you hear from throughout the show that allow us to do what we've done and continue to try to do since April 6th of 2020. Today we'll hear from Dane Brugler from ESPN. He had that list that we showed you yesterday of the top college football prospects in his opinion preseason in the NFL draft. We'll get with him. Also, Max Olson, theathletic.com. Mickey Spagnola, Cowboys with a bad injury. It appears with Tyron Smith. We'll have that and information on what they do, if anything. Of course, they have to react to it. Craig's off the radar. Paul's top 5 and much, much more here on 365 Sports. We do a lot of college football. We're going to do that a lot. But the Tyron Smith story, who's the maybe Hall of Fame type player, left tackle for the Cowboys. I woke up today and started just searching through, and boom, I went down like a bag of potatoes. He is, it seems like, been damaged goods for a couple of years.
Try 7. He has not completed a season in 7 years. The Cowboys have not prepared for this at all. You would think after 3 or 4, they would make some sort of huge plan. Tyron Smith not being in the lineup has cost them games, has cost Dak Prescott wins, has cost, all these things. They're in an absolute ridiculous prison of their own making. And when they don't win the NFC East this year, which without Tyron Smith, they will not win the NFC East. When Philadelphia, a team with less talent than they have, but a burgeoning team, wins that division, they will have no one to blame but themselves. Now, I don't know if Mike McCarthy said, no, Matt Willetsko and Josh Ball are just fine to step in if Tyron Smith gets hurt, but this is on Jerry, and this is on Steven, and this is on Will McClay, Will McClay's done a great job in that personnel department, but there's a reason they haven't won a Super Bowl in a quarter century, and they are absolutely just negligent of their needs. They don't have depth at wide receiver. They don't have depth at the offensive line. They've done very little to address both. And when they go 9-8 or 8-9 this year, because Dak Prescott is getting his ass rolled through by the defensive lines of every other team, because it's happened over and over and over again, they're going to fire Mike McCarthy, but it's their fault.
Are you going to have a heart attack here?
I'm just going through it.
He's a Cowboys fan. He's pissed, man.
I mean, let's just put it on the table. I'm a Cowboys fan who covers this team.
They drafted this kid from Tulsa, right?
That's their left guard right now. He hasn't even played a snap at left tackle, and he's a rookie who has problems with holding penalties. They got rid of Connor Williams, who's going to be the starting center, by the way, in Miami, another position that they're very mediocre at with Tyler Biadasz. They have done nothing to address their problems. Zach Martin is maybe the best offensive lineman in football, or top 3, okay? They think he's good enough to block all 5 positions at once. It is absolutely mind-numbing how they've gotten to this point.
And they used to have just stud from left tackle to right tackle.
Well, about 5 years ago, and I don't know, it's you probably narrow it down to precisely 3.5, 4 years ago or whatever. But in about that time frame, everybody was just, oh my gosh, what an offensive line the Cowboys have put together. They're going to be together for 15 years.
Yep.
This is going to be the greatest offensive line of all time. Okay, now they've got their offensive line set across the board. Now they just need to find everything else, and they'll be good. And in the time that they've gone to find everything else, some of that's come and gone at wide receiver, for example, and that line's just fallen apart. It's aged, it's retired, it's gotten hurt, and I think as a non-Cowboys fan, to think that I would be so pissed about it would be like watching your favorite college football team have a glaring hole year after year after year and not recruiting it. Like basically not recruiting it. Or you need 5 offensive linemen and you recruit 2. And then the next year, after struggling through that and not making it through, you really need like 6 guys and you go get 3. And it's just like, why? And then you just keep, and then it just feels like what they've kind of kept doing, and with no real logical explanation, I feel like, for why they've just played with fire constantly. And this Tyron Smith thing, I mean, this, if you look at the end of the tunnel, that light's been coming for a really long time.
It's like a train coming through the tunnel.
That thing's been coming for like years and years at this point. So there is no surprise to be had. There is no, I can't believe, no. This has been on the verge of happening for literally years at this point. So that was really tough to see that video. I mean, he just collapsed. Going to make a block downfield, and it looked bad, and he's not going to be back till December.
He's not going to be back at all.
Well, no, I know, but that's the report is December, and yeah, he might not be back at all at this point because of all the injuries and his age and everything like that. So yeah, just brutal news for Dallas, but not surprising.
We will get to that even deeper with Mickey Spagnola, and if you are a Cowboys fan, and I know we're mainly college football, but that's a huge story. He's a Hall of Fame type guy that has been really damaged for quite some time. And when he went down, it was in a really non-contact type walkthrough practice.
He's got Sean Lee luck right now. And Tyron Smith is going to be a Hall of Famer because he's been an All-Pro a ton of times. He's another one of the guys who the Cowboys will have wasted the careers of Jason Witten, DeMarcus Ware, Tyron Smith, and to a lesser extent, guys like Sean Lee, who was a really good player for them but got hurt a lot. But they've wasted those careers. And to compare it to a college football thing, and that team found a way to fix it, Garrett knows this all too well. It was like LSU and the quarterbacks.
Yep.
LSU could recruit kickers and punters, 23 other positions, but quarterback was just avoiding them. And everybody wondered, why are they 9-3 and 10-2? Well, the 3 teams that they're losing to have good quarterbacks.
All right, a lot of you in the chat room, I asked the question as well for you. What right now is the one question outside of anything when it comes to conferences and realignment that is on your mind in college football? And some of you have brought up the targeting rule. Is it too harsh? It was when it first came out, and they've kind of softened it a little bit because of the fact they can at least look at the review, and some of them are overruled. And it's also used to be just a deadly thing when it came to how long you're out of a game. So that's interesting. I did not know that would be the answer from some of you on the targeting question and penalty in college football.
I want to go back to the Cowboys for just 1 second. I just don't know. I think what would make me so upset as a Cowboys fan would be just, how do you allow this to happen? That's what I don't understand. You got people who are getting paid millions of dollars to make these decisions. They got an entire year to make these decisions. They see it coming way down the pipeline hey, we probably need some offensive linemen. And you get all the way to this stage of knocking on the door of your first regular season game, and you have a question at freaking kicker. You didn't address kicker satisfactory, and you just pinned your hopes to tape and glue, holding you through for seasons that are only getting longer in the NFL. That's maddening to me that how you allow that to happen. But yeah, on the targeting, targeting ever since it was introduced, really, that has been a bugaboo for a lot of people. It's undergone its different little tweaks and things like that. But yeah, I would not have suspected that would have been, the go-to for concern amongst college football fans. So that is interesting.
So we appreciate you on the chat already, and the text line is on going. Here we go with the text line, 254-339-1122. The first one we got today from Scotty B. My question is, who gets fired during the season first in college football? Boy, Paul, you've had some top fives, about 8 of them, when it comes to who's first year, second year.
I think last year's going to mess with our heads and make us think that every year's going to be like that.
Yeah, because last year was like full throttle immediately. Also, the 402, we'll get to yours on the Pac-12 in just a second.
Yeah, that's kind of tough because you got to...
Will Scott Frost be on the plane back from Dublin?
Yeah, I think he'll be on the plane back from Dublin. He's the one who's probably, if they don't improve and have the kind of losses, if 3, 4, 5 games in... they're muffin punts at the 2-yard line.
After him, who's next?
Jeff Collins probably at Georgia Tech. Would be the first name that comes to mind. It just seems like there's nothing really good going there. So that's who I would say because he's had a good amount of time at this point. But, yeah, I think it's Scott Frost, and it's clearly Scott Frost. And I don't think that there's – like I said on Sarkisian the other day, you're going to see him on lists just because – like that's half of Texas' attention is just people trolling them or trying to get a reaction, right? And so they get a big reaction, and so you're going to see probably Sark on all these different lists. I have like almost 0%. It's almost 0% in my mind that he's going anywhere after this year. So in terms of like big names, I don't buy that one at all. But Scott Frost, yeah, absolutely. And then Jeff Collins, but I don't know how big of a name that really is. And then I don't know beyond that because – like I said, I think last year kind of poisoned our heads to think that like every year is going to be that crazy, and it's just not going to be that crazy.
Especially early and mid of the season. We're going to break here. We have Dane Brugler from ESPN.com. It's a college football segment because he broke down who he thought were the top prospects for the upcoming NFL draft before the season began. Some from the Big 12, some names you obviously will notice. It will have that graphic when we come back as well. Garrett's got that available. Also today, all 3 of us listened to the interview with John Aran and also Andrew Marchand with Sports Business Journal with Magnus of ESPN, Burke Magnus, and it was very insightful. To me, the most insightful part of it was towards the end of what he was answering about really what do they look for, what would you do if you were a commissioner, and we will discuss that at length after we get Dane Brugler, who's next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. On, I guess it's Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, I have an appointment with Dr. Steve Childress at Stonewood Dental. I've had the implants put in thanks to Dr. Scott Warren, and now they will put in, at least temporaries, teeth right here, crowns, that eventually will be the real crowns. Dr. Steve Childress, who has really opened my eyes in many ways when it comes to dental work, because I probably didn't pay enough attention to it throughout the last several years. It's just stupid, I know. So thank God there's people like Dr. Steve Childress, who in fact is going to put 2 crowns in the front part right of my mouth, and I can't wait. Temporaries first and then the crowns, and it is fantastic the work that he does. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
So yesterday we showed you this graphic, this is the top 5, from ESPN's Dane Brugler on the 2023 top 50 prospects. And we went over some of the Big 12 names as well. And, and Will Anderson, Alabama, Jalen Carter from Georgia, C.J. Stroud, Ohio State, Ringo, the cornerback from Georgia, and Bryce Young, the quarterback from Alabama. And Dane Brugler joins us right now on Sick'em 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Dane, thank you very much for your time. You have those guys right there. Anderson, of course, to me, maybe should have won the Heisman Trophy. How elite can he be?
Oh, I mean, he's in the conversation with the Chase Youngs, with the Bosas, the Myles Garrett, in terms of as a pro prospect. I mean, he is as clean as they get, an easy evaluation, as good as he is as a pass rusher. And he's phenomenal. He's an even better run stopper, which says something about him. Over 100 tackles last year playing that edge position. Not only has that speed and quickness, but power and understands leverage, understands the technical side of things. He's a very smart player. And scouts tell me that when they go to Alabama, they just rave about how he is in meetings, how he does off the field, behind the scenes. Football matters to him. And so, honestly, this guy doesn't need to set foot on a college field ever again, and he's going to be, a top 3 pick. But he wants to go out there and win, and so just hoping for a healthy season from him. I agree with you. I think he should have won the Heisman. He was the best player last year, but nonetheless, there's a very high draft pick in his future.
Dane Brugler, theathletic.com NFL draft analyst, with us on Sick'em 365 Radio.
When it comes to the quarterback, C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, both of them very high, will C.J. Stroud ultimately start to get maybe more of the love early on because he's got more of the prototypical size and Bryce Young's a little bit smaller?
Yeah, like Bryce Young, everything that you want from a quarterback in terms of the intangibles, in terms of the mental side of things, the processing, the poise, Bryce Young has that. It's just he's a complete outlier in terms of his size. And this isn't like a Kyler Murray or, Russell Wilson, because those guys were built. Those guys were thick dudes. Bryce Young's probably going to be right around 200 pounds. Maybe under that, and he's going to be under 6 foot. So he, for lack of a better word, he's small, and he doesn't have the body type that you usually look at quarterback. So that's going to be something that is going to follow him throughout the evaluation process. And Some teams will be okay with it. Other teams probably won't. And it'll be, I know, a big point of discussion between evaluators. I think if, you put Bryce Young in a bigger body, he's probably the top quarterback at this point in the process. But not to take anything away from C.J. Stroud, who last year as a redshirt freshman came in and played really, really well. He's got, just like Bryce Young at Alabama, he's got phenomenal talent around him. He had 2 first-round picks at receiver. He's got another one with Jackson Smith and Jigba, and a few more probably with Marvin Harrison Jr. and a few others of these Ohio State wide receivers. But just isolating the quarterback and what he does really well, he anticipates, he can layer the football. He's a very structurally sound quarterback. Just named the team captain as a sophomore for the Buckeyes. So, that big game coming up here in a week against Notre Dame will give us, a pretty good indication of, just how is that next year going to go? What's the development going to be? He set the bar really high in the Rose Bowl with what he did against Utah. So the Heisman odds are in his favor. There's a lot of hype. So how does he answer that now when the season starts?
Dane, every year it seems like there's sort of a theme of what position is the strongest or what couple of positions may be the weakest, what have you. What do you see kind of early on as being a position or two of strength heading into this year's draft?
Well, really, the strengths and weaknesses, it can be found in the trenches. The strengths of this draft are going to be on the defensive line, both pass rushers and on the interior, where the weakness of this draft class looks like it's going to be on that offensive line, both the tackles and the interior guards and centers. And so, usually, these things change. Players will emerge. But usually at this point, we don't have offensive linemen come out of nowhere. I mean, usually we know who these guys are at this point. So it'll be interesting. Teams, they supply and demand when it comes to offensive linemen, and demand is going to be there. We know that. But the supply might not be. We've seen at least 2 offensive tackles go in the first round in 31 of the last 32 years. This year, there might only be 1. Maybe we get a second in there. We'll see. But it's just not looking like a great offensive line class. Now, on the flip side, defensive line just looks loaded. And we talked about Will Anderson. Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle from Georgia, is right up there as well. I know some scouts believe Carter is even the better prospect just because he gives you that interior pressure, and it's so hard to find those guys. For a big man that's 6'2.5", over 300 pounds, the movement skills, the body control, the power at the point of attack. He can play the run, but he can also be disruptive on the quarterback. Jalen Carter is going to be a guy that's we talk about throughout the process as being one of the best prospects in this draft, but it doesn't stop there. I'm a big fan of Ika from Baylor. Verified 6'4", over 350 pounds. This is a guy that just doesn't, he moves like a much smaller person, and it's really fun to watch. That Ole Miss tape from the bowl game really blew me away. He was playing outstanding. It looked like Vita Vea out there with that initial quickness, the strong hands. He can get guys moving, but at the same time, he's got fluidity to him. He's got some bend. He's able to shed single blockers with ease, and he can handle doubles as well. So there's just a lot to like about Apu Ika and what he could be at the next level, and NFL teams are really excited for him.
Dane, you mentioned the running back, the streak of how long it's been since somebody was drafted high as a running back. Bijan Robinson obviously has the skills. He's been kind of overlooked in a way because of Texas's struggles. Your thoughts about him?
Yeah, he came in at, I think, number 12 on my initial top 50, and that's very deserving. Bijan Robinson is an easy player to like. He's so good at making tacklers miss, and sometimes he does it with power. Sometimes he does it with his elusiveness. His ability to stop, cut, accelerate in a blink is really impressive. He's got those twitchy reflexes. And then I really like him as a receiver. You see those hitches, those angle routes. He's able to leave defenders in his dust as a receiver out of the backfield. So you want running backs that consistently put safeties in conflict. And that's exactly what he does, because he can make that first wave miss. And then once he gets to the second level, good luck. There's some runs from last year's tape where, we're talking about 6, 7 missed tackles on one play. So I think this is a scheme diverse player. It's not like he's going to fit one scheme or another. He's got the full skill set. We're going to be talking about Bijan Robinson, I think, very similar to how we talked about Ezekiel Elliott when he was coming out of Ohio State as a prospect, and Zeke ended up being a top 5 pick. So Bijan Robinson, the running back position, it is what it is in terms of the value in the draft. But Bijan Robinson's going to be one of the better players in college football this season. And then assuming he leaves early in next year's draft, and I think an offense would be very happy to add him next year.
Dane, you mentioned the strength on the defensive line in this draft. Correct me if I'm wrong on my count, but you only have 4 to 5 offensive linemen in your top 50 overall, right?
And I wish I could put more in there. It's hard to find these guys. And something I do with especially this initial top 50, because, I spent the entire summer watching tape and, trading notes with different guys around the league, is I'll send my top 50 to a few people around the league and just, hey, anybody I'm missing or, anything that you see here that's way off compared to what you think. And I'd like to get other opinions. And I said, okay, what other offensive linemen can I put in here? And nobody could give me a good answer. It does not look like a really promising year for offensive linemen. But you know what? These guys are still going to go because NFL teams need them. And so that's going to push up some offensive linemen that maybe we would usually see second, third round. I really like Peter Skoronski from Northwestern. He's a left tackle, going to move inside at the next level. Zach Martin, Joel Bitonio, could play tackle, but he's going to be a better guard. Paris Johnson at Ohio State is going to move out to left tackle. I think he has a chance to really ascend. He has a talent. It's just a matter of putting it on tape this year. So there are guys to be optimistic about, but the volume, the overall position, it's hard to really get excited about.
Dane, wide receiver, I spotted a couple of Texans in your top 5. Jackson Smith and Jigba from Rockwall originally, obviously had the massive bowl game and I guess the anticipation to see what he can do over this next season is pretty massive at this point. But Quentin Johnston at TCU, also there in your top 3. Just your thoughts on both of those native Texans.
Yeah, Smith and Jigba is, really a polished receiver for a guy that just finished his sophomore season, and that's really impressive to see. C.J. Stroud, he might have said it best. He called him the best route runner he's ever played with. And this is a guy that was throwing passes to Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave last year, 2 guys that were top 12 picks. So that says something about Smith and Jigba. He's a route technician. He's a guy that can be slippery after the catch. He's got a really good feel for how to skirt coverage and, be not only a guy that can get open, but then can create for himself. And that's really important. Now, I think something that might hurt him just a little bit is he's not an elite athlete. I can throw on the Penn State tape and there's a linebacker chasing him down. So he's, probably a 4.48, 4.53, somewhere in that range in the 40-yard dash. Not going to be a big-time tester, and for a wide receiver, that's something that matters for some teams. But he's just going to win over coaches with a guy. His ability to shift gears in his route, get open, be the best friend of a quarterback, and he's going to put a big-time production this year. Last year he had 96 catches and almost did it quietly as part of that offense. So this year, he's going to put up a ton of production, and that's going to translate to probably a first-round draft pick. And then Quentin Johnston, you mentioned as well, a tall drink of water. He's got speed. Obviously there's some quarterback questions at TCU. You got a new coaching staff in there. So, what would the offense look like? But a guy with that size, an athletic strider, finds the ball, times his leaps, can really go up and make plays happen. There's a lot to be encouraged about with Quentin Johnston and his development at this point.
How much do you factor in coaching staff for certain guys? Because Quentin is at TCU, and wide receiver wise, they've had a couple of guys who have not panned out in Josh Doxson and Jalen Reagor to this point. And Doxson, I guess, is out of the league. But with Quentin and a new coaching staff, does that change maybe how scouts will feel about him? Because Sonny Dykes has a better record with wide receivers when you talk about Cortland Sutton and Prochet right now.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. But I think it's important that we don't scout the helmet. I think that when you talk about, Texas Tech quarterbacks, 10 years ago, we would just write off Texas Tech quarterbacks as, they're going to be productive. But then, in the NFL, they're not going to be anything. They're just part of a system. Okay, well, with that thinking, you're going to miss on a Pat Mahomes. And so I think it's important for evaluators that, they focus on the player, not necessarily, the system they're coming from or the coaching. But, I think it will be good to get a new system in there just to see how he does with the new terminology, how he does with the new coaching staff. So I'm excited to see. I'm assuming Max Duggan's going to be the quarterback. Not sure, but TCU is kind of in a little bit of a rebuilding year, and so I think they might be a below 500 team this year, but that offense should still put up points.
Dane, what would you do if you were the Cowboys now with Tyron Smith out for a long, long time?
Well, only they have truly know Tyler Smith, their first-round pick out of Tulsa. How has he looked? How is he in meetings? How is he digesting all of this? If they feel like he can move, because the plan is to eventually move him to left tackle and be the successor to Tyron Smith, can they accelerate that plan? And, if they feel like that he's up to the challenge, then I think that's what they need to do. I mean, why not just do it now, rip the Band-Aid off, and, there's going to be lumps. I think everybody expects that, especially as many penalties as he had in college last year. But this guy's really talented. And as long as he's picking up the playbook, picking up the offense, and by all accounts, it sounds like he is. So, it sounds like, he was settling in really well at left guard. But, is there enough time between now and the opener to get him acclimated at left tackle? As long as the coaches feel comfortable with that, then I think that's the move. If they have their doubts, their reservations, well, then, you look at your options and whether that's an Eric Fisher, whether that's a Jason Peters. I don't know. I think you at least go down that route and look at those different options that are out there that aren't going to cost you a lot of money, but, can help you at least, patchwork the offensive line while you try to figure things out with, it's just unfortunate for Tyron, just another injury. And, who knows? There's at least a scenario here. We might never see him in a Cowboys uniform again, which would be a shame. So hopefully I'd like to see Tyler Smith get that job and see what he can do.
Dane, thank you very much for your time as always. Great stuff. Look forward to seeing it updated throughout the year.
Anytime. Thanks, guys.
Dane Brugler, theathletic.com, his top 50 prospects for the 2023 draft. It'll be updated. It's already been updated, as he mentioned, and the preseason one was out earlier this week.
Yeah, can I just kind of go through some interesting things that I picked out? Because, we could talk to him for like 2 hours about, every player listed. But your top 5 quarterbacks, Stroud, Young, Levis, McKee from Stanford, and Anthony Richardson, top 5 quarterback. So what do you think about that?
Well, that means that there's not really a super deep quarterback class.
Not a great deep class, no.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson has shown some flashes with his legs, but not yet with his arm. He's thrown a little bit too many interceptions. But I would love Anthony Richardson to just play for 1 year and leave. That would be great.
Yeah.
Good for you, Gators. Way to go. I think that'd be interesting. Interesting that he'd have Tyler Van Dyke in there. But Anthony Richardson has that kind of, Cam Newton-esque potential because he's a big dude who can run. He's got a big, strong arm, but, does he know where it's going to go when he throws it? I think that is what Billy Napier and the coaching staff have to work with him on.
Where is Stanford in the and maybe Plunkett back in the 60s, and obviously most recently you had Luck. Where are no, I was talking from one end to the other, and in between, Where are they when it comes to not quarterback you, but in that discussion?
I think they have one per generation.
Yeah, and I don't even know really what that discussion is even right now. The best players from Tech, but all their other quarterbacks have been bust, basically, or not even bust, have just not even big enough to be considered a bust. Their other most famous quarterback is the head coach of the Cardinals, and he didn't have a prolific NFL career by any means. So, the best player doesn't come from a quarterback factory pro-wise necessarily. And then, you got Alabama guys scattered around. You got... I don't know, though. I don't know, who would be quarterback you right now.
From Stanford right now, Davis Mills is the starter with the Texans. They had a stretch of guys.
We'll see how he does, yeah.
He's a starter for one of the teams.
Yeah, he is.
John Brody from way back in the day. Plunkett, we mentioned. Elway. It just seemed like and Andrew Luck, which just never materialized because of many things. But it just seemed like they have had more than that. But most of them, I think, were between Brody, Plunkett, and then Elway, and then it kind of shut down. Of course, Luck was supposed to be the perfect quarterback, and he hasn't been. Kevin Hogan, nope, nothing there. Guy Benjamin, Steve Dills, just curious. That's why I asked the question, and I don't see anyone else who's really kind of even touched the NFL. All right, that's go ahead back to your list as well.
Yeah, running backs, Bijan, Zach Evans, Devin Achane. I mean, the top three guys are Texas guys.
Yeah.
Even though only, I guess, you got A&M in Texas here as well, so two of them play, but one of them outside of the state, and Zach Evans now at Ole Miss. Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously a lot of hype for him in Alabama this year. I mean, what a pickup through the transfer portal that's going to end up being maybe the Heisman Trophy winner when all is said and done potentially for Alabama. So that's interesting. I mentioned Smith and Jigba and Johnston as far as two of the top three receivers. Jordan Addison at number 4. Almost thought about asking Dane about him, but I know we'll have him on again. But Jordan Addison at number 4 is interesting. Josh Downs, number 5 there. What was a couple other things that I saw here?
A big tight ends in there, yeah.
Yeah, the tight ends.
You got from Notre Dame's like a monster, isn't he?
Yeah, Michael Mayer, Eric Gilbert, Tucker Kraft from South Dakota State, Darnell Washington from Georgia, and Sam Laporta from Iowa. They're tight ends, but I was looking for like Texas ties. Layden Robinson from A&M, number 1 interior O lineman. Cooper Beebe from K-State, number 3 interior lineman. And you got SEC filling out the rest there. Tyree Wilson, number 4 edge rusher from Texas Tech. Behind Will Anderson, Nolan Smith from Georgia, and Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame. But Tyree Wilson is like the one guy that you can kind of guarantee from Tech will get drafted. He's possibly high, possibly pretty high for him. So, Ika at number 3, that's interesting, and good to hear Dane give some comments on him. And I think that was kind of it. I was just kind of looking for players. Oh, Antonio Johnson is number 1 safety, Texas A&M. So that's interesting to see as well. And a lot of SEC flavor there with Brian Branch and Jordan Battle from Bama being top 5 guys, and Jalen Catalon from Arkansas as well. So, yeah, it's cool to see this early on. I mean, it'll shift a little bit, but a lot of Texas flavor, a lot of SEC flavor, a little sprinkling of Big 12 in there as well from kind of all over the league. But excited to see Ika. I didn't see Galvin from Baylor, and that's what's interesting is he's talking about how kind of the O-line class or the tackles are. And you would think Galvin would be right on the verge of that top 5, but, he can go and have a big season and certainly prove that and put himself there.
Well, be a top 5, but still be like 63.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the reasons he's back is he didn't like what he heard, and he felt a little disrespected by, the evaluators and wanted to prove like, hey, you're wrong about me. I'm ready to go.
The DA, you're right. Brigham Young. They just put Zach Wilson. Of course, he's injured right now. And then Jaron Hall is a stud. Baylor's going to see him again in week number 2, plus their history of all the other quarterbacks they've sent to the NFL. And Oklahoma gets kind of overlooked.
Yeah, they'd probably be right now quarterback U or right there at the top of that because of just the draft success, the Heisman Trophy winners, and kind of done it regularly. But now the guy who's been doing that's gone. So, how does that – because they would have for sure – I mean, Caleb Williams would have joined Mayfield and Murray and, the growing list of star quarterbacks. Rattler was supposed to be that guy, and obviously is not going to be that guy. Caleb Williams would have been that guy, but he's not going to be that guy. So now it's, I guess, on the shoulders of the new era. But, yeah, certainly Riley was building them up to be quarterback U,
Look, Caleb Williams he can't go to the draft this year because he's a true sophomore. But in the draft this year, you could also have, 2 guys who have brushed with Lincoln Riley and Tanner Mordecai and Spencer Rattler, who both transferred out. So he'll have his fingers in the pie of a couple different guys, even though they're not, they're well removed from him now, being in their new spots. But yeah, he's still gonna. Lincoln Riley's quarterback magic might get them a little bit of a month, because I think, especially Rattler, because he has measurables. There's going to be a coach out there that thinks they can.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's not going by any means going to be like undrafted or a 7th round pick or anything. No. He might be just one of those guys who's a better pro than he is a college quarterback.
Yeah. I mean,
that's possible.
Purdue used to be the cradle with Greasy and Len Dawson, Mike Phipps, Mark Herman, Jim Everett, Drew Brees, of course, most recently.
One of the things I wonder about Rattler too was last year, because clearly his whole goal in life is to be in the NFL. Did last year feel like 1 year too long for him? And you can feel that if you're on the team with him, where he thought maybe I should already be gone. Do I want to do this?
How many years has he been in the college? What's his?
He's only been in for a couple years.
Yeah, but I'm saying for him, a guy who has he had a reality show, and
I'm already bored with this.
He's already bored with it.
Well, if that's the case, they'll find that out, and that will hurt his draft. And again, you're just saying that.
That's a theory. That. Yeah, I don't know. Because it was amazing to me because he wasn't. he wasn't terrible. He was just so blah. And that was what was so weird about it. Like, he regressed to the middle.
Yeah, but, you know, when people talk about him, they're not talking about, like, really his performance. They're talking about his arm talent and the way he can throw the football. And, like, they're not – I mean, for these scouts, I'm not going to pretend to be one of them, but I understand what you mean. But they're also looking at other things, and that's why, like I said, I think he might be just more of that pro ideal than he is a college quarterback. And, you know, that'll work out for him, I'm sure. But, yeah, he's not going to be a low draft pick or anything like that. He's got too much arm talent once again.
Ohio State, when he mentioned this, and this is something that he mentioned in his article with Smith and Jigba, 95 catches for 1,600 yards and 9 scores. He had Garrett Wilson and Olave. They're both in the NFL. Did he have the 95 catches? 25 more than Wilson. He played 2 more games. And also 30 more than Olave, who played in 2 less games. But had like 600 more yards than both of them. They scored 12 and 13 touchdowns. He scored 9. His average per catch was 16.9. Were his numbers all – he's a great player. What will his numbers be like this year with Wilson and Olave gone, knowing Ohio State in every position group is loaded and stacked from 1 to 5? But that'll be interesting to see what his numbers are like. But he put up monster numbers and kind of overshadowed it, had the great bowl game.
He had a really
Utah.
great last few weeks of the season. That's really like why he had that separation. If you look at like the last month of the season, like every game he had double-digit catches. How often is that for a wide receiver? Yeah. Like that never happens. So, just go look back at like the last 5 games of Ohio State's 2021.
He may have put up half his catches, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that he probably did. But, I think that's where a lot of the separation came in is just what he did down the stretch. 15 catches, 11 catches, 10 catches, 15 catches. That's 4 of his last 5 games. Yep. He had double digits. So, yeah.
All right. And
2 of those, 15 for 240 against Nebraska. 15 for 347 against Utah in the bowl game. So, like, that's 500 yards in 2 of the last 5 games alone.
Yeah, he was a beast down the stretch for them. Burke Magnus for ESPN was on with John Alrand and also Andrew Marchand. We're going to come back and touch on a couple of things he discussed if he was a commissioner of a league. One of them is what he said about market size, and also what did he say when asked about the possibility of 2 super conferences separating as their own league? That's next. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Boozer's Jewelers. I recently got engaged, and I knew this because he's been a client of ours for a long time. And you hear it, 9 out of 10 of the engagement rings they do are custom jobs. And you really want something one of a kind because your beloved is one of a kind. Amanda, to me, she's one of a kind. She's the only person I'm going to marry. So I want to make sure that I get the best ring for her and something that she really likes. I know next to nothing, even still, about wedding rings. And Amanda is actually in Nashville right now visiting family and everybody and friends. And everybody has seen the ring. And I keep getting texts saying, they say you did a great job. I did not do a great job. I did a great job in selecting the jeweler who made the ring, and that was Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I walked in, I showed some of the things that Amanda had sent me that she liked in a wedding ring and an engagement ring, and she sent all these things to me, and I showed the picture to Brad, and I said, this is what I want. That would make her happy. And so he said, yeah, we can do something kind of like that. That's really unique. So he went and they got the designer and they went all through it. It took about 3 weeks. Boom. I had my ring, went to Hawaii, proposed. She loved it. Everybody else loves it. And it's not because of me. The only good thing I did was I went to Boozer's and I went to the right people and they made an absolutely beautiful ring for Amanda. Boozer's on Valley Mills Drive, the wedding ring store.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Did you know the average American pays over $500 a month for their car payment? What would you do if you didn't have to make that payment for 90 days? Where else could you use $1,500? Keep your car payments at Genco. Buy new or refinance your current vehicle and have no payments for 90 days. Take advantage of our low rates and no payments for 90 days. Only at Genco. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies insured by NCUA.
My money, my future, my credit union, Genco.
It's summertime. There's picnics, reunions, cookouts, and so much to do. And Waco Custom Marketplace on Lake Air Drive in Waco is your home for the butcher shop that can help you with beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. They are spectacular at being able to deliver you whatever cut of steak you want. Bone-in ribeye, however thick you want it, that's great. They'll do it. Sirloin, T-bone, porterhouse, bacon-wrapped filet. And, of course, as I mentioned, they have pork, poultry, and seafood. Their Norwegian salmon is spectacular. Also, all of the sauces and seasonings you'll ever need, all the ingredients you'll ever need to make sure you have that perfect, flawless taste. So it's delicious whenever you take something off the grill. And a full-fledged bakery as well, with fresh baked bread and kolaches every single day. Up and down the aisle of Waco Custom Marketplace, you also have what you need, from knickknacks to snacks to more, at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, Waco Custom Marketplace.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Max Olson will join us from theathletic.com on college football here at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. Yesterday, Craig sent us a text about an interview. John Oran and also Andrew Marchand, who are both good. I'd listened to some of this, but it's long. And they get to Burke Magnus, who's a part of executive at ESPN, president of programming original content. We don't have the audio because I couldn't get permission from them to run it, but there's two things, and Craig and Paul, you guys, one thing that stood out to me was, and you hear about market size, and yet he was basically saying, no, that's really not something that's as much of a conversation as people say it is. Because listen, where's Tuscaloosa, Alabama?
Yeah, it's not a big market.
But they demand, obviously, the nationwide audience. But that was one thing he mentioned about market size. So if you were a commissioner, and he didn't say it didn't matter, but he said it was sometimes completely put up to the point where it's talked about too much. Number two, and this is for me, is when he was asked about the Super 2 conferences, two conferences breaking away to have their own national championship. Here's the guy that runs ESPN, and he said he basically said that's not going to happen. He doesn't see that happening. He can't imagine that happening. which is really what there's been a lot of the fear since Texas, Oklahoma, USC, UCLA is who's going to get left out.
Well, one of the things is, people have accused ESPN of pulling all these strings. Now, he said that that's not necessarily the case either, and I'm not sure. I think that's him downplaying that a little bit, but that is good to hear that, that's not what the networks want.
Yeah, we're not going to just all of a sudden start taking ESPN dude at his word because, there could very well. But, I mean, I think he was transparent and all that enough to know that, there might have been a couple things he couldn't say exactly the way he probably would if he had, some truth serum in him.
Yeah.
But there wasn't anything that was, maliciously lying to, change the narrative in any way, no.
Yeah, so, I think that, maybe he downplayed that a little bit, but, him saying that, the networks need it all. And it does stand to make sense because if you whittle it down to 40 teams, then you still can't fill all the spots that they have available. They would be kind of cutting off their nose to spite their face in that. So, it makes sense to keep the other conferences in it. It's just, you wonder what kind of product, even though they say they're not doing that, you're still a part of creating inequity in college football because of you're saying you're worth more than this and you're worth more than this when really you're talking about 10 programs might be worth more than everybody else and everybody else is right in the same big clump.
Rivalries, tradition, something he brought up, whether that is a major factor or not. He made that comment. Again, Burke Magnus of ESPN, president of programming, he talked about rivalries and tradition. And yet it seems like rivalries, now there are some that are going to stay intact no matter what, but a lot of times it seems like rivalries have gone by the wayside with all of the shift when it comes to conferences changing, realignment, teams moving, and then some of them will be reinvigorated like Texas and A&M.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded good news, sounded to be good news if you were just a college football fan and you weren't one of these folks that's rooting for the AFC, NFC concept, which I've never really understood. I mean, I get that people get frustrated with having to host Furman in week 2 and, things like that, but this idea of just making it like the NFL, a blatant copycat, I just never really wrapped my arms around that, and not because I wouldn't have a team involved or anything. I mean, Oklahoma's going to be a part of whatever thing there is, if there's something like that. So I know I'd have a rooting interest, but I still don't like the idea of just casting to the side, 100 programs for this monopoly of 40-something schools, as exciting, as chaotic as it may be. He did mention, too, that a lot of people just love the chaos, and that leads to and I've said that a million times, there's just chaos agents. They just root for every little they just want something to happen to react to have something to happen. They just can't sit still.
That's half the viewers of our show on YouTube.
I know.
People who enjoy the chaos.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a crazy topic and it's a fun topic and it's a never-ending topic. But yeah, he said a lot of it's just a love of chaos. But in the grand scheme of things, you break down what he said. Yeah, he said what others have said that are in positions of power, like a Mack Rhodes or various just other folks that we've had, Bob Thompson and other school officials, that they all said that they don't believe it's going to be a situation where a bunch of schools just go away and they're not playing big-time football anymore, and that we're only sitting there with, again, a Super 2, as I coined it, of 40-something schools or whatever that final version would look like. So I do think that bodes well. Now, at the same time, I think when he talked about what they do have in their inventory, and when he did talk about the future of ESPN and what they're invested in, he didn't say anything to calm your fears about how large that gap of money might be.
Right. No, he didn't.
That was never addressed in a way that's going to make K-State or Baylor or TCU fan feel any better. It also didn't lead me to believe that there's going to be a 40-team Big Ten in the future. I do think it's going to be somewhat limited, and it could be what everybody's kind of been pointing at, and we've been pointing at on this show for several months now, which is the logical Pac-12 editions of whatever version that might be. Certainly Oregon, Washington, and Stanford seem like they'd be shoo-ins, and to what extent past that, I don't know, but I don't see the massive takeover that some have, kind of expected. So, there's just a lot in there. I'm trying to figure out how to kind of focus on one thing, but there's just a lot to kind of take in. But I guess the biggest thing would be, just kind of calming the fears of there's not going to be 40 teams that break away and nobody else exists. No, college football is going to exist. And he made it clear, the Big Ten did a great job with their TV deal, but they didn't go forward with the Big Ten because the Big Ten was asking for a large amount of money and not giving them the inventory that they wanted in return. And ESPN, as he pointed out, said we were being offered half the number of games, a lower selection priority, and essentially double the price. Mm-hmm. And so they were like, screw this, we're good. And part of the reason they're good, he said, knowing we already had the SEC in the house and they have the entire complement of the SEC, it's not spread out over Fox, NBC, and all. It's all ESPN, ABC, Disney. The ACC is already in the house. Well, we know how long that contract is. That's another 14 years?
Yeah.
So they already have two of the, quote unquote Power Fives, including one of the Super Twos, if you will. By the way, 2 more years of Pac-12, 3 more years of Big 12, the college football playoff for more years. So yeah, he was pointing out, he's like, yeah, we didn't have the Big Ten, but they didn't give us a great offer, and we've got everything else basically. So we're not really sweating it all that much. But I think he did leave the door open for the fact that they wanted the Big Ten. They did want them. They just didn't like the offer they got. And so I think that the Big Ten signing that short deal, they'll renegotiate with ESPN. I think ESPN will figure something out that next go-around. And that's part of the smart play on Kevin Warren and company's part is of getting that massive deal now and then turning right around and have another one just down the line, around the corner. And I think you'll see ESPN get re-engaged at that point, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of the environment looks like.
I'm going to put the link up to the podcast. It's really good. I've reached out to both of those guys to try to see if we can get one or the other. It is very, very good. It's long before they get to him. And at the end, again, there's a couple of very interesting nuggets on the breakaway idea, the market size, and really what is discussed and much more. Not that it's not the end all, but it's discussed. But it was interesting from Burke Magnus of ESPN. Max Olson, theathletic.com. Next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Went by Don Shumidor and Coffee Beans earlier today. Ashley and Cheyenne were there. Ashley presented me with a box of Rocky Patel, the number 6 cigar, which has been ranked in the top 10 around the world. And my goodness, I can't wait. When I play a round of golf, I'll have a couple of cigars as I'm playing to relax a little bit and enjoy the beautiful weather that was this morning, in fact, when I played at Bear Ridge. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with elite brands of cigars. I was talking to my older brother, Robert, earlier today, and he said, hey, you remember the first time you ever sent me a box of cigars many, many years ago? He said it starts with an A and it's a 4-letter word. Couldn't think about it. Aston's not 4 letters. He mentioned Acid brand cigars that are very, very good. So I talked to Ashley about them and Cheyenne earlier today, and I might be sending him a box of those cigars that are kind of got a little sweet flavor to them. Also, they have CBD product. That Invited Dreams is what it was called before. It's a new product. It's a gummy that you can take at night that'll help you go to sleep quicker and more relaxed. It's Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
If you're out looking for a great selection of new cars and trucks, then shop Allen Samuels in Waco, because we have some of the best deals in Central Texas that will put you in a new vehicle and driving away with confidence. During the Labor Day sales event, you can take your pick, a new 2022 Dodge Charger or Dodge Challenger, and receive 0% for 72 months and no payments for 90 days. If you're a first responder, you get an extra $500 off your purchase. High-quality vehicles from a dealership with a hometown feel. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Holtmeyer batted and intercepted, and it's Walcott bringing it back. Could he? Wire to wire, Sick'em Bears. How about it?
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Max Olson of The Athletic. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Tim Johnson has time. Here comes the pressure. Lets it go. It is caught. Jenkins. 28-yard strike.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Max Olson, theathletic.com national writer, covers college football, wrote an article about former Nebraska and now current Kansas State quarterback Adrian Martinez, and he joins us now on 365 Sports. Max, great stuff on Adrian Martinez, and man, this kid played with obviously a tremendous amount of pressure, and now we knew he was hurt. How hurt was he?
Yeah, did you read that piece, Smokey? Did you enjoy that?
Yes, I did. I really frustrated the hell out of me at times, but also I love the kid. I really do. I said hi to him at the Big 12 Media Days.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you bringing it up, and appreciate you guys having me on as always. I think Adrian Martinez, obviously Nebraska fans who've watched him closely know that it's a pretty complicated 4-year run there, but, wanted to write this piece for the Big 12 audience, the K-State audience, national college football fans who, maybe you only know Adrian Martinez for the close losses and the turnovers and all the mistakes and injuries and stuff like that. But this is a guy that, you ask anybody that coached him and played with him, this is a tough SOB. I mean, this kid is just a tremendous leader, super mature kid. He gave everything he possibly could for Nebraska football. Obviously, the record, during his time there, 15-29 is brutal. But, it was not for lack of trying on Adrian Martinez's part. And last season, to play with a broken jaw for 6 games, which I asked Chris Kleiman, you ever had a guy do that before? He said he'd never heard of that before. Adrian Martinez did that for 6 games. He played with an ankle injury. He had a torn labrum at the end of the season. Like, this kid went through it all took a ton of hits there, had to run the ball, be their whole run game for 3 years. Like, it's just a remarkable when you really kind of, unpack all of it, just the impact he had in Nebraska, obviously beyond wins and losses there. Heck of a player who I think is in a much better situation now at Kansas State.
I just think it's a better coaching match, don't you, Max? Not to knock Scott Frost. It's just just as far as what Chris Kleiman will ask out of Adrian Martinez based on what Scott Frost needed from Adrian Martinez.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a big factor in all this, and, Adrian had poor decision making, obviously, at times. When you end up with 48 turnovers, a lot of that's on you. But, he didn't really have the support, the help he needed around him, whether it was Nebraska's run game, which 94 rushing yards per game from your running backs over a 3-year span is just not anywhere near good enough to be an effective quarterback. O-line issues last year, lots of receivers heading the portal. Yeah, I think you're right that K-State's probably a better situation in a bunch of ways where he can hand it off to Deuce Vaughn, and we all know and love watching Deuce Vaughn play. I think that he takes a ton of pressure off his quarterback, as we saw with Skylar Thompson. And I think K-State's got good pieces around them. They need to kind of figure out the interior O-line there, but they've got a lot of good players returning, and I think that taking some of that pressure off Adrian Martinez to be the guy that's making the plays on second and long and third and long all the time, and then ultimately make mistakes. I think it's a big difference for him, and I know he's excited about it because he wants to go out and prove he can be that guy like Skylar Thompson. They can go, execute a balanced offense and get to the NFL.
Max, do you think that they've had their cover blown, so to speak, as a dark horse candidate? Because I feel like everybody's named them as a dark horse at this point, that they can't be considered a dark horse.
No, I know you're right. I don't know if that's just kind of people all kind of come to those conclusions here in August as you try and stare at the standings and figure out who's going to surprise people. But yeah, you're right. They're not the dark horse anymore for sure. I think they have a chance if Adrian Martinez is really good, and that's the thing that's been missing in his career is just, can you be really good for a whole month or for 12 games and be consistent? That's the thing we just haven't really seen from him yet. They got to keep him healthy, but he's really kind of the X factor in that. And I think they've got a pretty good team around him where, they were pretty up and down last year. You guys saw them. There was streaks when they won a few in a row, streaks when they lost a few in a row. Offensively, pretty slow. They weren't great. They still won 8 games last year. So I think, and that's in year 3 with Kleiman. I think they've figured some stuff out there, and certainly they've been shooting for a Big 12 title the whole time there with their championship history at North Dakota State. I think this is the first year where they probably feel like they've got the pieces they need to actually be in the race in November.
Back to Martinez and Klein and the recruiting part of this. Klein was on a recruiting trip in Kansas City, heard that Martinez was in the transfer portal, drove to Lincoln. Can you try to describe what he said to you was in that restaurant when Martinez walked in the door with the Nebraska fans around?
Yeah, so Adrian Martinez goes in the portal on a Thursday morning, and Colin Klein gets the call, and it's about a 2.5-hour drive to Lincoln from or a 3-hour drive from where he was in Kansas City, and he just hit the road right away. They instantly knew this is the guy they wanted to pursue, and he asked Adrian, "All right, where should I meet you?" Because you can do these in-person meetings as soon as they're in the portal. And Adrian says, "Meet me at Hopcat," which is this downtown restaurant here, pretty close to campus. Adrian walks in there. He's got a sling on his arm from a labrum surgery, and he's a guy that sort of is easy to pick out in the crowd with that, and just with his history in Nebraska. And the fans there actually saw him, and a few of them actually stood up and applauded him and thanked him for his 4 years at Nebraska. He signed a couple autographs for kids. Like, it's funny to these recruitments are so. They're so fascinating. I mean, usually you think they kind of happen behind closed doors, and you'd have them at your apartment, or you go visit their campus or whatever. And he's meeting them out in public. He even did it the next day with the Big Ten offensive coordinator. He didn't mind, meeting the guy in public for dinner. And I know that was a really important meeting for Colin Klein to kind of talk through Adrian's career at Nebraska and understand that, what he told me was when you really kind of talk it through with him and understand what he went through. Sometimes in this sport, there's just some really good players that are in tough situations. And that's why we have, that's why the portal, I think, helps a lot of these guys to kind of get in a better situation where they can really show what they can do.
How important is it for Nebraska to win in Dublin, not only win the game, but win the way that they want to and not like the Keystone Cops accidentally winning?
Yeah, if they lose this game, then I think it's a pretty slippery slope from here. I mean, not to put too much on one game, but yeah, I think the consensus around town and just around people that cover the program is they think Nebraska's going to win. They think Nebraska's potentially going to win big. I mean, you remember Nebraska blew out Northwestern last year, like 56-7 or whatever at home. So if Nebraska were to blow it in this one, like they did last year in the opener against Illinois, I think that this thing snowballs a bit just in terms of the negativity and the skepticism that, they're actually going to be better and that they're actually going to pull off a winning season here. The Northwestern is a team you just shouldn't sleep on. They weren't very good last year. They didn't really have a quarterback. They had a bunch of issues, but you would think they're going to be better and going to be ready for this game. And, there's been all this hype for 9 months about Casey Thompson and the Mark Whipple offense and O'Shawn Mathis and all these pieces that Nebraska's added, but it's all got to come together here because they really, just for morale and everything, they really need this one by any margin. They need to survive this game and get off to a good start.
Max, elsewhere, The Athletic had a piece that you were a part of predicting the number 4 spot in the college football playoff, and you made the case for Oklahoma. And for those who haven't read it, it's like the why or why not. And you laid it all out there. Are they one of the more interesting teams, I think, for kind of everybody in the country to see one way or the other? Because people just assume, like, they have to be worse. Like, there's no way they can keep this up. And yet at the same time, like, there's all sorts of reasons. They're Oklahoma. There's absolutely reasons why they can. I mean, they just seem like one of the more fascinating question marks for college football heading into this season.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, we did that because when you look at the way the AP poll turned out, this preseason poll, you could tell voters had a really hard time kind of knowing what to do with Clemson, Michigan, Notre Dame, A&M, kind of Utah. Like, who's the real, like, front runner here if you're talking about that number 4 spot in the rankings? And I think you can throw Baylor in that conversation too, because I think it's pretty wide open. I'm not sure, especially with the quarterback issue that Clemson has, like, I'm not sure there's a team that is just on that kind of dominant level of Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, just in terms of the returning talent and star power and all that. Oklahoma is just one of the great wild cards of this season because I think the ceiling's really high. I mean, like, ideally on paper, you look at them and say, okay, well, why can't they have a top 10 scoring offense with Dylan Gabriel and Jeff Lebby and the pieces they have back? Yeah, you lose Kennedy Brooks and you lose, Mario Williams and Hazelwood and a lot of playmakers there. But, I like what they've got with Marvin Mims and Eric Gray and the players they added via the portal. And I think they're going to be fine offensively. I think they'll put up a lot of points. And it's Brent Venables on defense, right? Like, you figure, does he have all the pieces he wants this year? Probably not. But you think probably he'll take his best 11, whatever that looks like, and he'll have them really well coached and schemed up to be a problem in the Big 12. So, like, in an ideal world, like, where they're healthy, don't have depth issues, whatever, yeah, Oklahoma can win the Big 12 for sure and compete for a playoff spot. But, they don't have that backup quarterback that they did last year. They don't have maybe that depth that you're used to seeing just because all of the attrition and all the seniors they lost off last year's team. So, you could go through some of that stuff where you can go through some issues here where you have some tough tests early on. If they lose a few games, yeah, like you kind of write it off as a year one thing where they're kind of working through some stuff. But it's going to just be fascinating to see. Can Brent Venables kind of put it all together there with what he's got? Obviously, they're recruiting at a high level. They're going to sustain success there. But yeah, year one maybe just not quite as guaranteed in terms of a super high floor like you usually see with Oklahoma these past 5 years.
Did you happen to catch that Burke Magnus podcast by any chance?
I saw it. I know the one you're talking about that he did, but I haven't listened to it yet. No.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious if you had or not. It's interesting stuff for everybody following expansion, but it seems like that's kind of, I guess, cool now. We saw the Big Ten deal. What were your thoughts on the Big Ten deal? Because I don't think we've talked to you since then, and obviously any implications that people want to draw from that. But Kevin Warren did his thing, and now I guess we wait for the next dominoes to fall.
Yeah, I think Paul and I talked about it last week, but I think that for sure that it does seem like we things are slowing down just a little bit here. Certainly now that the Big Ten deal is done, now the Pac-12 rolls up its sleeves and gets going on figuring out where it stands with its negotiations with ESPN and Fox, and is there interest from Fox there? Unclear. What kind of offer can they get from ESPN? Will it be kind of a lowball offer that sort of sends them to market here, because it's clear George Kliavkoff wants to pursue, Apple and Amazon and these other big streamers out there that might be able to offer some kind of payday. I think on the Big 12 side, Brett Yormark's on the road right now, visiting all these campuses, of course, with the exception of Texas and Oklahoma. And, he's getting around and talking to these administrators and staffers and leaders at these schools. And I'm sure kind of taking notes on where the conference is and where things need to go. But, I'm sure that he will be ready to strike when the moment's right. But I think right now, probably more realistically, it's the Pac-12 trying to hold off a move from the Big Ten here first. I think that's the thing that you've got to worry about if you're George Kliavkoff is just, what are Kevin Warren's intentions? And if we assume he's not done, like how soon would the Pac-12 look into potentially adding West Coast partners for their new addition?
Is Kevin Warren for Kliavkoff like the IRS for most human beings in America?
I've never gotten into an alliance with the IRS. What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's worse.
It's that number. If you get something in the mail, even though it's neutral and just selling, you're like, oh my God, like what the NCAA used to be, right? Kevin Warren is to Kliavkoff. I just. Man,
what kind of business are you up to, Smokey, that the IRS is your existential fear? What are you doing over there?
Believe me, I just paid for all 87,000 they just hired, I believe, with my last check to them.
No, I'm with you. I think that's and we talked about this at the time, but this is why you didn't see George Kliavkoff taking shots at Kevin Warren in the Big Ten, even though they took his two members, at their media day, because I think you kind of are trying to play nice with them and hoping that. Certainly if the Big Ten, like you're just hoping that the Big Ten is not at that point where they feel like adding California schools or Oregon and Washington adds value to their conference. But it's just hard to know. And that's in the meantime, how in terms of leading the Pac-12, how do you get those schools to stay in the boat and commit long-term in terms of a grant of rights? It's a really kind of tenuous position to be in right now. And I'm sure Phil Knight and lots of folks out there are exploring all their options and trying to figure out where it's a fit.
Yeah, I wonder, like you mentioned, not taking shots there. But, I mean, it's not like had he taken a shot that Kevin Warren been like, oh, yeah, really?
Okay, we're taking Stanford.
He's much more calculating than that. I would have taken shots just on the fact that, you kind of tricked me into doing your bidding last year, and then you took away the guts of my conference here. So,
the trust level's pretty low between them right now. I think that's why the alliance is, certainly DOA at this point. But yeah, it's hard for I think all the Pac-12 can do right now is try to figure out how do we get the money right and what kind of offers can we get that would be enticing in the short term for Oregon, Washington, and everybody else to stick together here.
Max. Thank you. Anything else, Craig, for Max? Thank you, buddy. Appreciate what you do. It's football season this weekend. We'll have games, evidence, stats, and stuff like that. That's Max Olson, national writer for theathletic.com, with us on Thursdays at 5 o'clock. Paul, is the next break into Mickey?
Yes.
Okay, I want to bring up a couple of the text messages from the 402. If the Pac-12 folds, how cheap can the Big 12 buy their network, the Pac-12 network? Could it end up being as a part of Pluto TV or Samsung TV besides cable packages? I don't know if there's any value in the Pac-12 network. That's one of their problems.
Yeah, I would think that. I mean, they've got satellites and things that bandwidth you can probably buy from them or availability. But part of the Pac-12's problem was they tried to do this on their own, and because they did it wrong, they didn't make any money because they didn't partner with the network, which they could have kept all the money and not shared it with the network like the Big Ten has to with Fox or SEC and ACC do with ESPN. They just didn't execute it the right way. If the Big 12 does have a network, I would assume that they would just play it safe and partner with somebody. Plus, I would not be trying to get on Pluto or Samsung TV if I can be on a network, because as we've seen, those partnerships still matter.
Yeah.
Like right now they do. 10 years from now, maybe it's all streaming. I don't know. But I think that the networks have shown that it clearly does matter.
The way the Pac-12 network, I guess, is best described is the Pac-12 brains thought that 100% ownership was better than what the Big Ten saw, which was, hey, give Fox some of this ownership. and have this massive brand that you're now partnered with and eventually can expand with and grow into what the Big Ten network has now grown into, which is going to probably be a staple in like every home in America in 20 years. I mean, given their geography footprint. And the Big Ten was smart enough to say like, oh, you need whatever percentage. Okay, we'll do that. Whereas with the Pac-12, who could have actually been like on the forefront of all of this stuff, like if you really look back at the history of the Pac-12 could be like the Big Ten right now. I mean, not exactly, but as far as like cutting edge and money and all of that, they were in the driver's seat on a lot of stuff, and they just took the wrong turn almost every single time. But basically, the Big Ten decided, like, yeah, we'll give a percentage of this up in exchange for all of the benefits that come with that, whereas the Pac-12 felt they had to have 100% ownership. They had to have it all, and that in the end really cost them. I mean, like, to put it as simply as possible, that cost them immensely. So, no, I don't know or think that there would be much interest in that. And, I mean, I don't know kind of if the timelines would even match up for that necessarily, because I mean the Pac does appear to be taking some tough breaths right now, but I don't think there's anything that's like it's turning off tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's turning off next year for sure. I think we have a little bit of time to see how this plays out, and it's interesting to see kind of just all of the moving parts of technology and cable and all of those things right now. I don't know how desirable a new conference network would be or beneficial for the Big 12. The Big 10 and SEC are kind of established at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the way that you go if you're Brett Yormark and company. So unsure, really.
Don't laugh at me here, because you know how I am about all this technology, and I'm being serious. There's so many different ways to get things now that I don't even know half of them. I never heard of whatever he just mentioned as far as Pluto TV. But my question is, has Amazon, Apple, or anybody yet have they been able to dive in yet with anybody college football?
They have not yet.
Peacock
did, but that's
is
NBC.
there something simmering there that somebody might strike them early and make a ton of money with them?
Well, Amazon did offer money, and they got turned down.
No, I know, but nothing yet has clicked with them. And
well, I'll tell you who I don't think is going to be involved. At least I don't think so. I don't think Turner's going to be a big player. I don't think that they're going to be some like massive saving grace for somebody. I think that they could have some college football, but I don't think that's going to be like they're the NBA. That's their bread and butter. That's what they're focused on.
And on occasion, the NCAA tournament is that?
Yeah, and the tournament. I mean, they're involved in stuff, but they're just not going to be like one of those like along with Fox and NBC and like as a college football broadcaster in my mind. But yeah, I was actually thinking about this last night. Is if I'm Brett Yormark, I know inevitably those folks are going to get involved to some extent, and I know why the Big Ten turned it down, because even though it was more money than they were being offered, like this is not the same product. It's not the same launching pad and service and all of that. So I wonder like how much that's still developing on their end. But if I'm the Big 12, I'll take a little chunk of money to be your experimental, test tube and figure it out along the way. Why the hell not? I mean, how are you going to make the brand more national? How can you get more national than Amazon at this point? I mean, that's basically every home in America is ordering their toothpaste or, diapers or sodas or whatever from there. So they might not they're definitely not going to get a number probably that was lobbed at them that was lobbed at the Big Ten, but if you can get a little chunk from them and get creative with it, I think that would be a way to go for sure.
I wonder, and I know the Pac-12, what George Kliavkoff is also hoping is that since Apple and Amazon are right in the heart of Silicon Valley, and there's a ton of Pac-12 alums that work in the higher realms of those companies, that you can kind of do, and Smokey, you remember this, in the early days of ESPN, there was a lot of sports on it, like if you were watching it in Florida like I was growing up, or like Texas, you'd be like, why is this sport on in primetime? Well, all the executives are from Connecticut. They love it. Like, they like,
Remember Australian rules football?
Yeah, they were, but it was not only just, but like, there was a lot of mediocre NHL that was on in primetime on ESPN back in the day.
I think back in the day, they were just trying to fill time, and I think they just threw things as much as they could. But
part of the reason they leaned really hard in the NHL was because, they had a bunch of guys from Connecticut who loved the Hartford Whalers. Like, it was a big deal to them, but then they, as they morphed into something different. So maybe he's kind of hoping that there's some tug at the heartstrings there. And, there's, believe me, Stanford alums and working at Apple and Amazon, there's plenty of them there, just from Stanford alone. So, maybe you see that and then him trying to tug at that a little bit. I think with the Big 12, again, if you want to get the big two streamers and Apple and Amazon, and Apple TV is really interesting to me because I don't think they're going to mess with their price point too much like some of the other ones will, because they don't have to. It's $5 a month for Apple TV Plus, and they put out some really good stuff. They have not really gotten into sports. The MLS is the first thing, and Major League Baseball. And, if they get into college sports, like, what's better? $5 a month that you might go ahead and do that. Plus, everybody's got an iPhone for the most part.
I'm starting to notice, though, I get text anytime something's wrong on my debit. Anything, $2.99 here, $9.99. Of course, a lot of it's iTunes and things like that.
Yeah, but that's how they get you.
It's just starting to get you. Here's the 620. I want to answer this for you, by the way. Do you think Kansas football is heading in the right direction? Is this the year we can at least take a step forward? I like what he's doing at KU. They just must be very patient. There can't be much expectation there. Whatever they can do that gets them, out of a deep hole, good luck. I'd love to see them have some success. It's been a long drought for them.
Well, I would need to know what your definition of what you would need to see to feel that way.
I will respond to him on that with a text.
Yeah, so I would need to see what your expectations are to feel that way. But in terms of will you watch the product and feel like you're watching a better football team and a team that's consistently getting better? Yes, you will. Kansas will look better than they've looked, and they will, with each passing week, minus a stumble here or there, continue to look at least like a football team that knows what they're doing. So, yeah, I have high hopes for Lance Leipold and the Jayhawks. And now high hopes for them at this stage is if they were to win a couple conference games, that would be amazing. That would be like freaking parade in town. I don't know that that's going to happen this year, but I don't think progress is necessarily just the win column. And yeah, sooner rather than later, it has to be. It has to be the win column. But I still think Kansas was just in such a freaking hole, man.
Across the board. Numbers, scholarships.
Worst of all time. Yeah. So progress is not defined the same way as it might be for some. So, yeah, I think you're going to see better football program, a program that's growing, and you just got to hope to hell that Lance Leipold is in it for the long haul and will be around for a while, and as long as he is, and I think that they'll only continue to grow and get better and be a fine football program. But, yeah, he had to pick up such I don't even know how to describe it. He had to pick up just a lifeless, carcass, basically. The program was lifeless, and he's had to make a lot of corrections that most other, coaches don't have to deal with. So just give him some time and be patient, and they'll be fine.
Here's his response: 3 or 4 wins season, moving 3 or 4 wins this season, moving to 5 and 6 in 2 or 3 years, so we aren't a laughing stock anymore. And I think that's not unrealistic. From the 8-1-3,
4 wins. I need to go look back at their schedule. I could be pushing, or maybe not pushing it. No. That's reasonable. That's reasonable.
I think that's reasonable for anybody, no matter where you are. The 702 destruction awaits Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC. You won't dominate the SEC. Trickeration ain't gonna work. All right.
Well, I'll tell you on that. I do think that Texas and Oklahoma will be successful in the SEC, but their definition of successful is going to change immensely because Oklahoma, and I've said this a billion times, but I'll say it again, and it's not anything like hot takey. They're not going to win the conference every year, and they've basically done that in the Big 12 for the better part of a decade. And Baylor's jumped up a couple of times, and there's been others that, give them a little run for their money, but for the most part, they've dominated. That's not going to happen in the SEC for one. So that right there is a major adjustment that fans will have to get used to. But can they still go win 10 games a year? Absolutely. I think both programs are, especially Oklahoma, set up to do that. And if Texas can get their culture corrected and keep making strides the way they are or seeming to under Chris Del Conte, then, barring having bad coaches or bad culture, both those programs are going to compete wherever they are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, that's the thing. And I think both have pretty good culture and pretty good talent and pretty good everything. So, yeah, I think they're going to come in and compete, and there might be a slight adjustment in terms of just you got to get the D-line a little deeper or something like that. But I don't anticipate it being a decade lead in A&M's had where you're there's still no. It's going to take a short amount of time in comparison, and they'll be competitive.
And A&M had that first little spike because of Johnny Football.
Yeah.
The 8-1, go ahead.
Johnny Football allowed A&M to be in the SEC what they were in the Big 12. Good, not great.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
that team with Johnny Manziel was better than most any A&M team in a long time.
But he helped and Mike Evans kind of helped that recruiting where people thought, oh, it's cool to be in College Station.
Yeah.
And now Jimbo's got it to where it might be super cool to be in College Station, but we'll find out.
If Johnny wouldn't have happened, like that would have been something to see.
Yeah.
Like what would we even be talking about with A&M right now? Yeah.
From the 813, Brigham Young, guys, plays USF next week. Who are you rooting for? Gary Bohannon and USF or future conference Big 12 member Brigham Young?
BYU because they play Baylor, and I want them to be undefeated when that game happens in Provo, and I want Baylor to be undefeated, which they, in theory, should be.
If they're not.
This text comes from the 813. So
yeah, it's Tampa.
So I will say this as a person who, as an FSU alum who used to live in Tampa, and had to drive past a sign when USF won when I went to visit my friends that said, "Welcome to the Big Four." When they beat us, I will forever hold a grudge
against USF
for that stupid sign at Malfunction Junction, which is actually beautiful now. But I will not
ever.
No, not a reason.
My oldest brother.
Are they going to play the Russians? If they do, then I'm on.
My oldest brother, Robert, went to USF at least for a couple of years and enjoyed the campus and everything else around it. I want Gary Bohannon to have a fantastic year. I hope USF has a good year. I'd like to see Brigham Young win because now that's a part of the Big 12, no matter if it's not until July. And Craig mentioned that they're both opening up USF, and then Baylor has Albany, which they should handle them. I hope Gary has if they lose the game and he has a really nice statistical game, that would be great.
Yeah, I want Gary to do well, but I'm not rooting for USF to like just ruin BYU's season right out of the gates with an opening loss. So yeah, definitely going for BYU. So that Week 2 game with the Bears and the Cougs in Provo will be a spectacular matchup.
By the way, former Baylor defensive back Jaron McVay, he made the tackle, is going to join us tomorrow by phone in the 4 o'clock hour.
Awesome.
He got cut by the Rams.
Yep.
But he came back to campus yesterday. He's looking at, has like one more credit to get his master's degree. And so he's going to go back and get that done. We'll have him on tomorrow just to kind of catch up with him. It is 4:30, Mickey Spagnola. NFL and Cowboys next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Holy cow, has it been a hot summer. You could fry an egg in the bed of a pickup truck. Jay here from Pickup Outfitters here to give you a little heat relief and some protection for your poor truck bed. August is bed cover month at Pickup Outfitters, and we're making it easy for you to cover up that hot bed on your truck with discounts of up to $200 plus matching rebates of up to $200 and double your warranty on many of those covers. That's up to $400 in discounts and rebates plus double your warranty on bed covers at Pickup Outfitters. And you get our famous lifetime installation guarantee and free warranty assistance, which makes for a worry-free purchase. When's the last time you could say that about your bed, a truck bed? Get your poor bed some heat relief with a brand new bed cover, including name brands like Backflip, Undercover, X-Tang, Retrax, Roll-N' Lock, and Truxedo. Up to $400 in discounts and rebates with double your warranty. It's only at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the city of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, 10 standing bed and kids club, 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience, where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs. Knowing you, that's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer Jeweler joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Prescott on the keeper, walks in, touchdown, Dallas.
It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
Mickey Spagnola, in fact, is at the Star in Frisco, Cowboys headquarters, and watching on the carpet at the Ford Center. He joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Mickey, I got up this morning. I was getting ready to kind of get going, and then realized the video of seeing Tyron Smith fall and crumble to the ground. And, I mean, my goodness, how much of a setback has that been for today?
Yeah, it's a huge setback because you can't replace them, right? So they're going to have to, try a couple of things, but you only got like 16 days before the season opener. And the worst part, when you saw him crumple the ground, is he didn't get hit. He was just coming off a block, took a couple steps, and I guess they were wrong steps, and the hamstring tendon gave out, and scheduling for surgery tomorrow. So that's a huge blow for the Cowboys, since they were still scouring free agency for a potential backup swing tackle. And now that's changed. They got to find a starting left tackle, and that may be difficult.
Yeah. They kind of should have seen not this coming, but Tyron Smith hasn't played a lot for the last 7 years. And Mickey, the swing tackle thing is something we keep bringing up. They wanted to trot out and see what their guys had, but now it's really pushed. Do you expect to see them get in the trade market? Because, I know they're optimistic about December, but they really shouldn't plan on that, should they?
Well, I don't mean to answer a question with a question, but who you think is out there, what team out there has more than three offensive tackles that they can, and one to spare? Gil Brandt just came by. Unfortunately, he's in a wheelchair, but he's here.
Good. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Who has? Because think about it. What's the problem with alternative leagues? They don't have enough offensive linemen to help the skill people be skill people, right? And now it's the same thing in the NFL. You just don't have enough offensive linemen to go around. So I don't know that anybody's got an excess one. My first thought is, well, you drafted a tackle in the first round and tried to make a guard. Well, what about making him a tackle? And see what he can do in a short period of time, making the transition from now guard back to tackle.
Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Mickey, what is the option? So what is actually, in your opinion, if you were the one making the decision, Is it Tyler Smith? Is it what are the options?
Well, I think if you look at everybody says, well, go sign a free agent. Well, look at the free agency list of offensive tackles. The best ones are 40 and above, right? I don't know if you want to do that. And are they going to be ready in 2 weeks? Does that help you out? And then what if those guys get hurt? And the likelihood of, 42, 40-year-olds getting hurt is pretty high. And now those guys have got you over a barrel, right? They're going to hold you hostage for as much money as they can get. And none of them, I guarantee you, they hadn't been working out like they were going to play. And I'll guarantee you they're not in shape to hurry up and play in the first game. So I think you got to look inside until you decide, well, okay, this just isn't going to work. And then maybe go and sign one of those guys. But I think it's easier said than done. There's guys out there like Marcus Cannon and, a couple guys that, kind of on the fringe right now. But a lot of these have been coming off of injuries. Now there's going to be a lot of noise in a second because Jerry Jones and his wife Jean are just coming by. So I'll see if I can go away from the noise.
Yeah, Mrs. Jones is very loud.
Yeah, well, Mickey, you should have just said that was for you.
Hey, guys. All right, I think I'm good now.
Okay. But, Mickey, to your point, I mean, it's guys like Eric Fisher and Jason Peters and, they have experience, but, again, you're looking at a month. Do they maybe kick Tyler Smith out and say, look, you were probably going to be the left tackle of the future anyway? It's your time?
I think the future is probably now. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, that would be my first choice to see, what he can do out there. And you're going to have to be smart. You're going to have to be smart how you call plays, how you line up. You don't leave them out there on the edge to, try to block the best defensive end in the league. They get fortunate in the fourth game because Chase Young is placed on PUP, so he's got to miss 4 games, and that fourth game is with the Cowboys, so he won't play the first time around. And you know what? Tampa Bay, have you looked at their offensive line? Mm-hmm. They're in trouble. Like their 3 guys that were starters last year are no longer going to play either for them or they're hurt. They just lost their center. Their starting guard retired. And a guy that they thought can come in and maybe take the place of one of those 2 guards just got hurt with a torn ACL. He's out for the season. So, yeah, everybody's got problems, and no one's feeling sorry for you, by the way.
How much of this, and I don't know how you're going to react to this, but it's a question we discussed earlier. How much of this could have been prevented, not knowing – obviously, Tyron would go down this week, but he's been really struggling with injuries. How much of this have they wasted the years of what looked like 4 or 5 just elite offensive linemen?
Well, I think that in my book, and, if somebody wants to criticize me for been saying this for the last 3 years, I would take 14, 13 games of Tyron Smith above anybody else you could put out there. Because he's that good, right? Now, you don't anticipate him getting hurt before the season ever starts. When he's been hurt before, it was the 1 year that he had the surgery and he missed all but 2 games. I get it. But the rest of those years he was missing games, he was missing 3 usually, maybe 4. I could live with that because what else am I going to do? And with the Cowboys' other needs that they've had in these drafts, it was hard to say, okay, we got this Pro Bowl tackle over here, and is it that if I draft the guy, is he taking his place? Am I forcing his retirement? You remember Phil Bennett?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He just showed up with a white shirt, a sport coat, and shorts.
Can he play left tackle?
I should go ask him. Yeah. I should go ask him. No, they got guys that can do that, right?
Yeah.
They got all the holding that could go on. So, then the other problem, we're talking about finding a starter. Well, what about finding that backup swing tackle? Is he on the roster? They were hoping for that, but I don't know that we've seen that so far. Maybe you bring in some sort of veteran and see what they can do, and let the young guys that you thought were going to be the backup swing tackles keep working, and maybe they progress as the season goes along. That's another shot. And then the veteran guy can be your backup swing tackle. There's a lot of different ways they can go. And I don't know that they thoroughly thought it out, but there's some guys out there that, they might look at Jason Peters, who knows, but he's 40 years old. And if he's still good, are the Cowboys the only team that need an offensive tackle out there? Now they are, maybe, but before, no one signed these guys. And I'll guarantee you, none of them wanted to go to training camp in the first place.
No, you're absolutely dead on right about that. Mickey, I guess this is also going to, be even more of a proving ground for Kellen Moore, as he'll have to get really creative, like you mentioned, with the play calling early on in the season, especially while the offensive line gets its sea legs together.
No, absolutely. And the key thing is, and what you're hoping is that these young offensive linemen can figure out how to run block before they learn to pass block. And maybe you can control the game running the ball. And they have shown that. They've shown that. Oh, Fitzy's got a walker. Goodness gracious, John Fitzgerald. But these guys are getting old, right? Yeah. I mean, they're all in their 80s now. He says as he's approaching them from behind, right? But yeah, it's difficult because like some of these guys, there's it's like I heard somebody bring up Whitworth, right? He's 42. He's just retired. So does anybody know that he turned in his papers to retire? Because you know what? The Rams can put him on their reserve retired list, and they could keep him forever. And then you would have to make a trade with the Rams to get his rights if he wanted to play again. And I remember when Roger Staubach retired, and I was told that Tex could never bring himself to basically give up his retirement rights because he wanted to make sure he didn't change his mind and go play for somebody else. So there's that also to think about. And you know what? If guys are thinking about retiring, they're already retired, don't you think?
Yeah, mentally, yeah. You hear that. If once you start thinking about it, you might as well, or you are. Yeah.
See, and then the other problem now. So say you move Tyler Smith to left tackle. That means McGovern's going to start at left guard. But Mike McCarthy just the other day said with the competition going on, he said he would still like to play McGovern 10 to 12 snaps at fullback because they really aren't going to have a fullback. Well, okay, that would have been fine if Tyler Smith could go play for him at guard. But if Tyler Smith goes to tackle, and McGovern's got to be the full-time guard. And so you can't pull that one off. And by the way, they've been giving him snaps at center because they were figuring, okay, if he's a backup, he could be the backup guard center. And he was supposed to start on Friday at center with the backups. So now there's another thing you were counting on that maybe you can't count on that anymore. So there's a trickle-down effect, right? And the best thing that can happen for them is one of those two young guys, draft choice last year, Josh Ball, draft choice this year, Matt Waletzko, one of those steps up and says, okay, on a short-term basis, I can go in and play a little swing tackle. But at this point, who knows? So yeah, and you're right about what you said about Kellen Moore, because they're going to have a very, I would think at times, conservative game plan and not asking Dak to have 5 and 7 step drops to be able to throw the football.
Mickey, thank you very much. Appreciate your time from on the field as the Cowboys are practicing with some of the great names in Cowboys history. John Fitzgerald, Phil Bennett, remember the constant holding calls against like the Giants, and of course Jerry walking by in the late, great, not late great, but the great general manager, former personnel director, and Gil Brandt as well.
That was informative. It was also kind of depressing about how old everybody's getting.
Yeah,
like,
it really was. There was some golly.
I mean, I understand. I'm starting to knock on that door myself in so many ways, but yeah, that was just like, a walking wounded, so to speak.
Listen, Craig, you're not at it yet, but the 40 number.
Oh, I know.
Here's the thing: you wake up and you feel like, man, my 30s were great. It was a great time in my life, and I can't wait for my 40s. And then you get a bruise, and you're like, I don't know. I didn't do anything.
You don't just get a bruise. It doesn't go away.
You're like, I've got this bruise, but I didn't remember running into anything. Or
Paul, you're 2/3 my age.
I know. It's getting worse. But those are the things that happen. Or hey, why does my knee hurt? And like, oh, I slept weird.
Because you
have sleep.
Well, I also think too is like as you get older, that suddenly becomes a lot of what you talk about. So like Mickey, like if that was me, I would just been like talking and not really paying that much attention. But he's like, oh, he's in a, like you notice all of those different little things, and it's just kind of funny and sad at the same time.
Yeah, I hate to hear it about Gil. Gil's one of our favorites. He's that's
what got me thinking about it. Yeah,
just an absolute, steel trap of information and a great stories.
I wish, and I hope, and I don't know this, and again, I've heard he's been in and out of the hospital, but I would love to have some of his notebooks and notepads from back in the day in the 60s and 70s when he was looking and writing down information about prospects, and he would find ones in the cracks of the Smoky Mountains. He could find players anywhere.
Well, the fact it took him so long to get in the Hall of Fame, considering he invented modern scouting, when before guys would sit in a hotel ballroom, they would get a magazine that the scouts did, and they would just go through and draft based on, well, I guess the next best guy would be this one, and that's who we'll take. And there wasn't really that much scouting. And Gil Brandt is like, well, this guy played basketball, but I bet you we could teach him to be a left tackle. And sure enough, you did.
All right, when we come back, Craig Smoak's off the radar. We do have, tomorrow we're going to be live at a high school football stadium, which is just on the southern edge of Waco, Midway High School in Hewitt. And in Woodway, you hear me discuss discoverwoodway.com. We'll be there tomorrow for the first high school broadcast, Midway hosting Mansfield. So we'll be live from Panther Stadium. Behind the scenes today, Jacob Wilson, Levi Caraway, Emery Winter, Garrett Ross, Sikkim, 365 Radio, and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They are the people that you can count on for over 20 years now in Central Texas, and I've counted on them a couple of times myself here over the last year or so. Shout out to Donnie over at Richard Carr, as they've helped me get my vehicle taken care of when I've needed it taken care of, thanks to dings and bumps and bruises, so to speak, on the roadways. They have taken care of those, and my car looks like it's brand new. So if you are in the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle, don't wait any longer. New cars and trucks are arriving weekly at Richard Carr. You can come by the dealership or log on to their website, richardcarr.com, to check out their in-stock inventory, or you can sign up to be on their inbound vehicle list. And basically what that is a placeholder for you to not cut in line, but get in line and establish your spot so that when your turn comes, you are up next and ready to go and able to get the car of your choice, SUV or truck of your choice, as quickly as possible. It's a placeholder to ensure your spot and to get you into a new vehicle as fast as possible. So you can do all that while you visit the dealership. But if you're looking to get into something today, well, Richard Carr has trucks, cars, and SUVs on the lot that have all undergone a 172-point inspection, over 95 quality pre-owned cars and trucks in stock. Plus, you'll get top dollar on your trade with dozens of lending options. Richard Carr loves to say yes when others say no. So if you're looking to buy new, get on that inbound vehicle list, talk to the folks at the dealership. They'll get you signed up, get your placeholder, and get the car, truck, SUV that you're looking for lined up. And then you'll go through the customary whatever waiting period, however long it takes to arrive. And then, boom, as soon as it does, you got it. But if you want to get into something quicker, ensure that you can get into something as soon as today or tomorrow, because today you've got about 8 minutes, I think. But tomorrow, first thing, you need a vehicle, head on over, and they've got over 95 quality pre-owned cars and trucks. So, Richard Carr Motors, the people that you can count on for over 23 years. They built a reputation as being the people you can count on for your automotive needs. They're run by proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
TFNB, your bank for life, is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome to Off the Radar here on Sikkim 365 and 365 Sports. Time for Off the Radar, just taking a look at various stories from around sports that, being very college football and NFL heavy, we might not normally discuss. Just a little bit of a break from the norm to kind of just take a look around the rest of the sports world, because it's a big world out there and there is a lot going on, whether that be baseball, basketball, or all points in between. And let's start off with a few baseball notes. Paul sent this to me the other day, so I'll start off with this. I just ran out of time a couple of days back, as we do this segment only on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but the LA Angels looking like they might be up for sale, as Artie Moreno is looking to perhaps unload the franchise. And he has been with them for over 20 years now at this point. Artie Moreno, as presiding as their owner, initiated a formal process to evaluate strategic alternatives, including a possible sale of the team. That was part of their announcement on Tuesday. The expectation from the various articles that I've read is that they are going to be sold. This isn't like a little, let's just kind of see thing, that that is the expectation. But they are expected, Moreno and those, a part of his team, they're looking to keep their options open. So unsure whether or not this will be something that goes through. I mean, seems kind of inevitable that it's, being put out there, but got to imagine that would be a brand that's going to command a high dollar value, I would think, being in Los Angeles and just all that comes with that alone, and everything we've talked about college football-wise.
And Orange County.
Anaheim, huge population, all that stuff. So, the Angels looking like they might be going up for sale here pretty soon.
Yeah, which also leads people to believe that Mike Trout and Ohtani might be out the door.
Yes.
Because, you've got to kind of move those contracts to make it worthwhile for the new buyer so they don't step into owning anything. Look, and Ohtani is a free agent after next year anyway. So you need to strike while the iron's hot to maybe get something for him while you can. And while he is maybe, the most valuable trade piece in the offseason, Ohtani, and then get something hopefully you can for Mike Trout, who's signed into the next decade. So I wouldn't be surprised. But, it's probably time for Artie Moreno to sell that team. It's been, since 2002.
Has anyone, and maybe there have been more, put more money into a team that has not performed in sports history?
They are not very well run.
But in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, and they won. They beat Barry Bonds in the 73 home run year in the World Series.
What was it, the Rally Monkey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Rally Monkey team was great, but in the 20 years since then, the Angels have been nothing to talk about.
In 15 years since take that back. Excuse me. In the playoffs only once since 2009. I was looking for it. Only made the playoffs once since 2009. They're 52-71 right now, and headed straight towards their 7th consecutive losing season. And they have Mike Trout and they have Shohei Ohtani, but it was pointed out in one of the articles about them of the massive overspending. You look at Albert Pujols. You look at Josh Hamilton. That's one that they'll never really be able to shake away from entirely. And Anthony Rendon at the moment is kind of big money that's not going the way that you would expect it to. So, there's been a lot of reasons to believe that this is probably a little bit overdue or it's time to do that. So, looks like the Angels could, in fact, be going up for sale, but we will see how that goes. And, I do think most people will be interested to follow that story, not only because it would be curious to see who wants to step into a major ownership position in Los Angeles sports and, a major franchise and the Angels. But, what does happen then with the two generational superstars that you've been able to land on your roster that everybody in baseball would want to talk to and have on their team in Trout and Ohtani. So, and to have those two just stars and be in this position is got to be frustrating. But,
do they have any other stars? Do they have any? You're the roster guy.
No. Anthony Rendon should be, but he's hardly played for them. Yeah. So, but you don't need that many.
Got the two best players in all of baseball.
But I get that. But Trout is now his future's in jeopardy. Correct.
Yeah. He's got this back issue and all that. But and I'm not overestimating to say that nobody in the history of baseball. There's people have better numbers over a 20-year career, but nobody started their career with a better 10 years than Mike Trout did.
Oh, yeah.
No one. Yeah. No one ever.
They're 21 games under 500.
He had the best 10 years to start a career, and they wasted that.
Yep, they did. Another baseball note, Bryce Harper's coming back after a couple of months away. He'll be back for the Phillies, had thumb surgery, and they are trying to close in on the playoffs. So was having a pretty good year before he went down. Now coming back, so that'll be good news for the Phillies as Bryce Harper set to return on Friday, 2 months after undergoing thumb surgery. So take note for that, baseball fans. One starting quarterback job that I don't think we have mentioned, Illinois Fighting Illini named Syracuse transfer Tommy DeVito as their starting quarterback. So there's another one to put down as far as the quarterback competitions that were ongoing. And then this was kind of interesting. There's a lot going on with the PGA right now. There's a lot to try to wrap your head around. And I'm not somebody who follows golf religiously or even daily for that matter, but just trying to make sense of every single headline that's come out. But I guess recently, as of yesterday, the PGA did announce that they are going to make major changes to their calendar. They're going to make major changes to the way they pay players, and there will be a new Tiger Woods-backed league as well. But basically, the PGA is having to admit that some of what the LIV folks have been saying is absolutely true. And they're having to work to kind of counteract some of this negative PR and also, just do what probably they should have been doing in so many ways. But they have started to make changes and even acknowledged that, there was kind of some points made through this ordeal, and we're addressing them.
I spoke to Jimmy Walker, former Baylor star, and of course he won a major, pretty damn good player for a while, number one, I think, in the world for a while. When I spoke with him, and most of it was off the record, but one of the things he did mention is, there are some issues, and we would like to see a lot of them. He didn't want to get into LIV and Mickelson and all that, but Mickelson and others who did leave mentioned that got kind of overshadowed. They just want to make the tour better, and most everyone thought it was, better for just the more rich player, the richest players. Well, that's going to happen here with these tournaments.
Well,
but don't you wish they could have gotten to this point first? And maybe he should have gone to Tiger, not LIV, but some of these guys say, Tiger, listen, you're about the only one that maybe they'll listen to.
Yeah, well, I do think the PGA...
There was no threat.
Yeah, I think the PGA got a gift that they didn't understand early on and squandered it. Look, Phil Mickelson said what he said. They gave you plenty of lead time to get out in front of some of this beforehand. But it doesn't appear to me that they did, and plus they should have known this. And sometimes the messenger you get is not the one you want to hear, because what Phil Mickelson did was he kind of showed his true colors in that this is a guy who's been very popular with fans. He's not very popular with other players, and he's got kind of this duality about him. So what he said was harsh and all these things and wrong, but the PGA didn't listen to, well, this is a problem. And they kind of wrote it off as, well, Phil's old. So we're going to lose Phil. All right, Phil's mad. Well, when you lose Brooks Koepka, a guy who's still pretty young and in his prime, you lose those guys, that's not good. That's not good to let that happen. And not to let those guys off the hook, but they left for a reason. If you would have made,
if in fact they have what is in place right now, what they're about to have in place on the PGA Tour, how many of them would be gone?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot less.
Yeah, but would they have done it if not for LIV? Mm-hmm. That's the point. Is they didn't do it until they had to. So yeah, you're right.
Which makes me wonder if Tiger at some point is going to be the commissioner of the PGA Tour, because this is something that there's got to be some blowback here.
But yeah, so I feel like no matter how you feel about LIV or whatever decisions dudes are making or whatever, if I got offered $2 million when I've never made close to that amount of money, that'd be hard to pass up in today's climate for sure. But yeah, don't sit there and tell me after the fact that you treated me wrong. I know you treated me wrong. That's why I went in the first place. So yeah, now you realize it and you want me back and you want to treat me right, but it's too little too late. So I can understand some of the players being frustrated with the way the PGA did things. Oh, now you want to change? Now you want to change because we're all leaving, right? Right?
Yeah.
So, there's a point there. So to the changes themselves and what they're actually going to do. The PGA, has earmarked 20 tournaments that will have purses ranging from $15 to $20 million. This is all, mind you, coming after the fact that Tiger Woods had a players-only meeting a few days ago, and apparently there were several players, 23 in total, that were a part of that meeting. It wasn't just Tiger, it was Rory McIlroy as well, the player-only meeting in Delaware last week. So this is kind of what some of this is stemming from. They're going to have the top players from the PGA Tour competing at least 20 events. That will include 12 elevated events with purses ranging from $15 to $20 million. They previously had only 8 elevated events, so they're adding 4 more to the schedule. Those will be announced soon. Also, the Player Impact Program will now reward 20 players, which was previously 10. Payouts will double from 50 to 100 million. Criteria will also change as they drop Q scores and social media metrics. I mean, there's all sorts of just changes going on. Players now.
There's money last year that Tiger earned because he was Tiger, because he moves the needle, even though he, of course, hasn't played just a couple of rounds.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but players who reach the Tour Championship get a 2-year exemption. $5,000 stipend given to non-exempt members for they're just finding ways to pour money into it. So what do you guys think? Is it going to make a massive difference? Are Tiger and Rory going to kind of save the day here for the PGA?
It might shut the door on maybe. I don't know if it's Cameron Smith seems like he's out the door, although he's not out the door. I think Listen, we still have the emotions and reactions to what they're doing, who they're playing for, whatever, overseas or live. But boy, damn it, why couldn't this have been a year ago?
Yeah, I do think that.
And sometimes, again, you don't react until you really have to react. And
But I think the argument for the players, though, is like these were being echoed and said, and these are not like, oh, well, why didn't you tell us before? It's like, no, we did tell you. You just didn't have to worry about it until the new company came along that's challenging you, and now you want to listen to it. So that's where the problem
We don't
lies.
know how much this discussion was in some of these player meetings that said, you guys can leave, go ahead, whatever, but I'm telling you, there is at least some movement.
Tiger, I think, is not the first, like the last line of defense. I think he's like they brought out a big gun.
McElroy, Justin Thomas.
Yeah, but the big gun lives in Augusta, Georgia. If that, like, the thing that can be the PGA saving grace against the LIV is if the powers that be in Augusta, Georgia say, we do not approve of Saudi Arabian money and we are not going to allow those LIV players to play in our tournament, regardless if they're past champions or not. This is a PGA event and that's what it is. Then I think that's the nuclear option right there.
The RNA over in obviously in Europe, there's a couple that are bigger than just a name. You're right, but
yeah, there will be guaranteed money, stipends. Like you'll know a lot more about the money side of it. Also, Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy, this little partnership of theirs, also announced they were launching a new technology sparked golf series that will be made for TV. They announced this yesterday. It's a team competition before live audiences that will use giant video screens and debut in 2024. McElroy and the founder of TMRW, which I guess is Tomorrow Sports, Mike McCarley, announced the partly virtual golf league ahead of the PGA Tour Championship in Atlanta. McCarley said it'll be rooted in the traditions of the game, but taking a big step into the future. And having Tiger and Rory committed to play will be a big part of getting success from the very beginning. But basically, golfers are going to hit longer shots into huge screens that produce a virtual result similar to what would be seen on a regular course. And then a turfed playing area adjacent on the venue floor would allow spectators to cheer live short game shots and putting by the players. So it combines in-arena gaming events with various other outlets like music and entertainment. And I don't know. I need to see more of this concept, but it's very interesting and very futuristic. And
how much does that help get younger?
Well, that's the point, right? Yeah. Is how much does it help with that? But yeah, so Tiger and Rory are part of this new, somewhat virtual golf series that will be going on as well. So a lot going on, like I said, in the world of golf. A lot to kind of sort through, but a lot is going on in the world of golf. And for right now, I guess the other big note would be obviously Chet Holmgren, Thunder rookie, will miss the 2022-23 season due to a foot injury. That came out, the number 2 overall pick earlier today. So, yeah, he's out the entire year. Liz Frank injury to his right foot, will require surgery in the coming weeks. All of that according to GM Sam Presti. So, huge blow for the Thunder and rookie Chet Holmgren.
It can happen to anybody. Just someone walking down the sidewalk. But tall, big men in the NBA. Bill Walton had foot injuries. Sam Bowie, who was he may have been the one drafted in front of Jordan, had tremendous issues with his feet. And there's been others. I don't know about Yao Ming.
Greg Oden did. Let's check in
Greg
with
Oden?
Greg Oden, all foot injuries.
Yeah.
Let's check in with Oklahoma City native and Thunder fan Emery Winter. How you feeling, buddy? Not good.
It really sucks. I mean, if you are Oklahoma City, you have a guy that's a once-in-a-lifetime type player. No, not once-in-a-lifetime. But it could be a help you become
he's a number 2 overall pick. Yeah, he's a big player for you. He's a big choice that you had to make. So, yeah, it's a number 2. I mean, imagine anybody losing their number 2 overall pick, not in baseball, because that takes a while. But, yeah, it's a big deal. So it happened in a Pro-Am game on Saturday. It landed awkwardly. Trying to defend LeBron in transition. And so he was pretty clear right away that he was hurt, and they decided to call the game after that because of slippery floor conditions. So
yeah, that's too bad.
Yikes there. But, yeah, bad injury for Chet Holmgren, and best of luck to him in his recovery. But we'll see, what happens from here on out. But obviously big news, and those are a few things off the radar.
I'll throw one baseball note in, Craig, because you had something on the Angels. I saw this from Mark Berman. Framber Valdez of the Astros has 21 consecutive starts, which puts him in terrific company. These are quality starts. Jake DeGrom, 24. Bob Gibson, in the year he had that 1.12 earned run average in 68, 22. Chris Carpenter in 2005, 22. And next would be Valdez, player that pitched back in the 1917s with the Sox, Chakotay, and then Johan Santana.
I miss watching Johan Santana pitch, but yeah.
I did too. All right, when we come back, we have more to come. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Paul's Top 5, of course, just around the corner. Phil Bennett next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Pioneer Steel and Pipe since 1943. Just think about that alone. 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Been in business with pipe, steel, and metal. Amazing, durable, test of time. The economy, the ups and downs, whatever's happening around the world, they are still here, and they're not far away from opening up their brand new building here in Waco. Also location in Bryan. Pipe, steel, and metal. Tremendous knowledge and help when it comes to metal buildings. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, pioneerboys.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio.
2 receivers left and 1 right. Fakes the handoff, back to throw. Looking deep middle, throws, ball tipped up in the air, intercepted! Trice got it on the deflection. He's running out right, back left, turnover to the main green. The defense with a tip drill, and it goes to Marcus Trice.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
They met last year, North Texas and UTEP. North Texas, of course, made that great run at the end, had the win against UTSA. And Phil Bennett, North Texas defensive coordinator and a great friend of the show, joins us on 365 Sports. How have you been, Coach?
Well, I've been working hard, and nice to see this rain. The heat was hot for a while.
For like 3 months, you had no rain, and now we're getting it. Now it just makes it more muggy, more. I guess you could say humidity. We lose him?
Coach, you there? Coach, you there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm still here. Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, so it's a pretty intriguing opening game. UTEP in El Paso and you guys met last year. Hell of a game, 20-17. Great start.
You know, in my 3-year career, I've never started a season with a conference game. So it's a first for me.
Phil, you guys really ended the season strong last year. How much is the defense do you think so far has built on that end of the season and grown up and getting ready for this conference game to open up?
Well, I think we're a much more mature. I think we have better depth, but at the same time, we've got some new guys. You know, we lost a couple of good players, and I'm interested to see how these young people that we have that are very talented, you know, how they perform. So, you know, our biggest concern, Paul, is, you believe it or not, I think Matt Rose was talking to our AD. He's been at UTEP, and I've been there, and it's going to be a large crowd, so we've got to handle that.
Coach, at this point when you're just sort of days away from what you've been preparing for so long, is it just kind of you're in that zone and it's just business as usual, or do you feel things start to ramp up? Kind of how does that work behind the scenes?
Well, I can tell you after, 44 years, your heart's beating a little bit faster, a little bit of anxiety. Yeah, if it doesn't, Craig, you shouldn't be doing it. Mm-hmm. It's just a unique time. You have to live it to experience it. And it's such a blessing.
How good is your front four? And I know that you have a bunch of new faces there.
I think we're pretty good, Smoak. We're fast. We're not tall. I've got 2 ends that are 6'3". My inside guys are about 6 foot 280. But what's unique about them is they probably run in the 4.7 or under range. And so we can move a little bit.
Phil, as someone who's 5'7", I resent you saying that you're not tall and listed 4 guys that were 6 feet tall.
Oh. Well, Paul, I certainly didn't mean that as a slight.
No, but
I don't want to play. I don't want you playing defensive tackle for me.
No, nobody does.
You have KD Davis, and of course, we know the story during the offseason about getting him back as well. How good are your linebacking core with him as the anchor?
Bob Davies is going to do our game on the television, and I told Bob this. I've got 4 linebackers that can play anywhere I've ever coached. So I think that's, I've coached some good players. And I think I've got 4 guys that really have a chance, to possibly play at the next level.
Phil Bennett, North Texas defensive coordinator with us, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. High school football starts tonight in Texas. And I know you have the history of that. Your brothers coached, of course. Jerry won the state championship at Jefferson. What's a memory or two of you in high school football?
Well, it's the beginning. I mean, of course, you were around. Back I played in Marshall and Longview and Texarkana and Nacogdoches, Tyler Lee and John Tyler. I mean, they called it the Little Southwest Conference, and it was everything, the whole town. But I'm excited about this game tonight. I've got a special interest. Brody Trahan is the defensive coordinator at Rockwall Heath, and Reed Heim, who was our GA at Baylor, is the head coach at Geyer. So there's a lot of interest in this game tonight.
By the way, Heath plays Midway down here in Waco. I think it's like week 3 or 4, so we'll see him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
How many this is probably, how many people are on your coach? Do you know how many people are on your exact coaching tree? Just you?
I don't. But, I know it's quite large. I mean, it's, I think I've had a text from most of them. I don't know. I would say, Paul, I don't even know. Well in the 50s, 60s maybe. I've had a lot of guys that have done awfully well that started off with it.
Phil, has there ever been somebody that turned out to be that ever came up to you and said initially you didn't think they could make it as a coach, or it wasn't working out, and that you talked them into staying in the profession, and then they of course just blossomed?
I can remember, and this was at a time I was also a young coach. I had a guy that he didn't know.
Been great. And then you turn right around and you play in your backyard with SMU. This is a spicy start to your schedule.
Yeah, it is. It's a start that we felt like would really measure us from the get-go. And we think, the thing, SMU has the last 3 or 4 years have been very competitive. Rhett has come in. They've got the same quarterback who's a Wakefield guy. And but I promise you, I haven't even thought about SMU. I have a lot of respect for Dana Dimble. Dana was at Kansas State when we used to go against him. I even brought out the 14 and 16 Baylor game just to watch him again to see his thoughts.
Well, it's always isn't that crazy? That's the thing about games, coaching, whatever. There's always a network or connection somewhere from where you have been or where somebody else has gone.
The way past each other, like I said, I have such respect for him because of what he did with Coach Snyder there. I was actually the defensive coordinator at Iowa State when he played at Kansas State. He was a hell of an offensive tackle also.
Phil, the way college football's had this offseason of, I don't know if the word is turmoil or it's just been so rambunctious with so many stories other than the game itself. How healthy is it now just that games will start to be played?
I was listening the other day to Lou Holtz, and he said, I'm hoping and praying once we get these games going, we will talk about the game and the players and not about leagues and who's in, who's out, and the transfer of other players. But, even right now, David, you got kids. I got hit with 4 kids today that signed with a school that are in the portal as freshmen. Now, how crazy is that?
You have 4?
No, we had people contact us.
And games haven't even been played yet.
No.
Yeah, that's got to be a slippery slope to deal with, though, right? I mean, if this kid is already unhappy where they are they going to be happy anywhere? Like, there's so many questions that just come out of that.
It's just it's worrisome in the fact if they don't get a time and a regulation, what are we teaching these kids? As soon as you have a problem, you leave. I mean, that's not a good thing to start and continue.
I don't know if there's anything in the game of football you haven't seen. How often when you watch film now, is there something that you have not seen in your 40 years or so of coaching?
I tell my players every day, if I'm not learning something, I'll quit. I have seen most of it, but at the same time, the minds of young coaches and you think about it, Smokey, back in the days where hey, there was the tight end, 2 running backs, and 2 wideouts. Mm-hmm. And then what it's evolved to. And now with what Art did and other people did with tempo. And I laugh. And you can remember this. We're one of the few when the wishbone was created, what it did for Alabama, what it did for University of Texas, what it did for A&M, and now it's sort of passed. I still see some things. There's a lot of things going on right now with unbalance. A lot of people are doing things with an unbalanced formation, creating defenses having to slide and recount. I think Baylor, with their stretch game, Jeff Grimes was at our camp with his son, and we were talking about how they do things, and it was unique, very intriguing to me how he does his offense. So you're always learning.
Phil, the spread offense, which is now even infiltrated into the NFL, went from the high school level to the college level to the NFL level. Has there ever been anything else that the high school level did that went upwards like the spread?
I don't think so because, one of the things about the NFL is their big concern, they don't have hashes. Mm-hmm. So it's really a different, that year I was doing some consulting, it's a different game. And when the game is played in the middle of the field, the whole game, that spread is deadly because you have to tackle in space, you have to cover in space, and it creates, and especially, let's be honest, they won't let you touch a receiver. So the people wonder why Xavier Howard's making $30 million a year. That's why.
Is there a rule in football that actually helps the defense?
They thought they put this big rule in that they couldn't crack us or cut us below the knees. I'm not sure that's going to affect, and help the defense. I think it's a showmanship game, and I think people want to see scoring, and I think that they do everything, and I'm not crying about it, but it's the truth. I mean, they want to see the offense score points, and if you're coaching defense, you're behind the 8-ball a little bit on a lot of things.
Do you ever wake up in the morning and go, I just wish I could coach against the wishbone for one game?
Let me tell you, when I was at Pitt, I did, and that's not easy either because they make, it's everything that you do, is a teaching factor. And one of the things I tell our coaches, I said, if we get beat and it's because they executed better than us, I can live with that. But what you can't do, you can't give up explosion plays, run and pass, where you're misaligned, you miss a call, and you don't perform. And now, I can tell you something. I remember Paul Johnson, when he was at Georgia Tech, he could make a lot of defenses look bad just by doing the stuff he did with the bone.
Was he also at Navy first?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was. Absolutely.
He was.
So
he was, hey, David, he was my first game as a head coach at SMU. And that year, I think they went 10-1. And we had Tate Wallace with my quarterback, who was really a tight end. We went right down the field and scored. And I think we pissed him off because he went off.
When you were at Iowa State, that was when Switzer won a national title, I think, in '85 at Oklahoma.
Sure did.
Was that the best wishbone talent and precision you ever saw?
Ever. Listen, everybody that I can still give you the names. You can look this up. In the first ever ESPN night game, Paul McGuire at Iowa State, Jack Trice Stadium, they beat us on the last play of the game, 12-10. This was when Bosworth, Casillas, Spencer, the guy that's an announcer now, but Rhymes, all those people. And the next year, I remember telling my head coach, I said, hey, Mac Brown was the offensive coordinator for Barry. The next year, we go to Oklahoma, and I tell our head coach, I said, we're ready. We're going to beat them. And we were getting better. Well, the week before, Miami had knocked Troy Aikman out of the game. And guess who they brought out on me?
Jamel Holloway.
And he almost killed the Schooners, the horses. I mean, I remember my head coach. I was a young know-it-all. He walked down to me and said, well, he said, what do you got to say for yourself, guru? And I couldn't say, well, I mean, and it was about 500 degrees. I was like a tomato, and they never stopped scoring.
You want me to remember the score? You want me to remind you what it was?
I know it. Was it in the 60s?
59-14. That wasn't bad.
59. Yeah, it was bad.
Hey, well,
at will.
You held them to a field goal one time.
I will tell you this: nobody had heard of Jamel Holloway.
No.
I mean, he was like 5'8" and fastest guy on the field.
They had Lott Mildren back in the day. They had Lott.
Yeah.
Golly, I mean, Steve Davis
Billy
was a
Sam.
magician. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm talking about the quarterback still.
Quarterback.
Oh.
Steve Davis. Jack Mildren.
Yep.
It was it's amazing. At that time, of course, that's my era. You had Worcester, who just passed, and you had Coach Roll, of course, my coach, Jimmy Ballard, started it there. And then you had, when Alabama went to the wishbone, Coach Bryant, I mean, that's when they really started. Wilbur Jackson, and they became a national champion.
So
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. You mentioned space earlier, about how space is so important, and that's something Art used to mention. Wasn't that really the key to his offense?
Yeah. The spacing, two things with his offense. He could create a matchup as good as anybody. I mean, he never got so ate up with saying, hey, he's an inside guy, he's an outside guy. I remember, I still laugh, with Brent Venables. We would go 5 wides, and then we would put Goodley at tailback and run the zone and just run it right down his throat. He would bring all these nickel and dime people in. Then he'd do it with Corey Coleman. I mean, you could never zero in on where, and we would be, Gary Patterson, good coach, but Gary Patterson used to press our corners, our wide receivers, who would be 3 or 4 yards almost out of bounds. They would press them, and Art would just laugh. So defending him was truly a learning offense.
Well, Coach, kind of putting all that together, what are your thoughts on Brent Venables being a first-time head coach now at Oklahoma, and Jeff Lebby, obviously, as offensive coordinator? How do you think that combination is going to work out?
Well, I'm definitely a Jeff Lebby fan. After this deal that happened there, I'm not much of a Venables fan, so that's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
I mean, if there's a loyalty factor in this business, you don't forget it. I'm just I know too much about the situation, and just don't want to go there. I'm for Jeff, but I don't know how it's going to play out, to be truthful with you.
Phil, one more thing. As you're about to open the season with the game at UTEP for UNT, Coach Seth Luttrell, head coach, you guys have done a really good job what you turned around last year. You were out of coaching for, what was it, 1 year?
3 years.
3 years.
3 years. 3 years. Yeah.
Were you? I know you had back surgery. You had to go through some things as well. But were you miserable when you weren't coaching?
No, I wasn't miserable. No, that would be now, one of the things, there was an emptiness that, my wife always tells me around July I change. And I guess it's just it's a seasonal thing. But I wasn't miserable. But I didn't, there was something lacking. And that's one of the things I've enjoyed here. I like the camaraderie of the coaches. I like the camaraderie of our players. It's just a feeling, and you know this, David, all of you, you've been around it. I mean, what coaches get to do together and what they get to live with and sometimes through, it's a very bonding experience.
Absolutely. And I always would like to have you as somebody that is by someone's side, man. You're amazing. We appreciate it. The chat room likes you. Phil Bennett, North Texas defensive coordinator, with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Good luck in the opening game. Hope to have you on more often as well as we get into the season as well.
Well, I appreciate you guys. And as I always tell you, I love what you do for all of football, high school, college, and pros. You're fun to listen to.
You were a part of some of the earlier shows, and I don't know if you know this because you've been kind of busy, but our show has exploded nationally, coast to coast. The Texas OU story, UCLA, USC, obviously then sent another level of it. But we appreciate you because you were there with us from day one. We appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Phil Bennett, defensive coordinator, North Texas UTEP. That's a heck of a nice opener at El Paso, 8 o'clock on Saturday night. He didn't want to talk too much about
I guess that must be a Cale Gundy thing or something.
Yeah.
That's all I can think of.
But they also had that kid in the transfer portal, too.
Oh, yeah.
What? Oh, the linebacker.
Yeah. Right? Did he get in on that?
No.
The kid that they got out of, who wound up staying?
Yeah, I don't think that was Oklahoma.
Was he Oklahoma? Okay.
I don't think so. I don't.
Well, he actually
maybe it was.
I thought he mentioned the schools were A&M, maybe Tech. Was it A&M, Texas, and Ole Miss?
Okay, yeah.
With Davis, the linebacker.
But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was not trying to poke anything there with that question. I was curious.
It was probably Cale Gundy. Yeah, because that's loyalty in the coaching business.
Well, yeah, because I was not expecting that type of an answer, and so in my head I'm like, what happened? And all I could think of was maybe a Cale Gundy connection is what maybe that is why he's not so high on Venables. But
Marlin, in fact, I'm guessing he was referring to the Gundy firing. And Paxton Marlin, I think you're probably right. Carl Page, this guy is great. He should be a regular. He was. He did every Mondays with us last football season, two football seasons ago.
We weren't even in a studio when we were doing the Phil Bennett segments. We were in Paul's attic, basically doing those Phil Bennett segments. And, those were a lot more uncut even then. And he wasn't, tied down by a job. He was just a free agent with no qualms about talking about anybody, and he's still got no qualms of talking about anybody. But those were some great segments early on with him that I wish we could have just that way. But it's obviously hard now because he's got a job and he's got to worry about North Texas football first and foremost. But he's unfiltered, and I appreciate his honesty on pretty much every front, and he's a fun guy to listen to and talk football with.
Garrett, do you have the picture you had of him on the graphic? There's something I want to show on the graphic. Let me see if you have it up. You see the big defensive signal, the laminated.
I was hoping you'd read this one.
Yeah, Arlo 220. Please ask Phil why he keeps a menu from Cheesecake Factory tucked in his pants. And I didn't quite. I thought maybe he knew Phil, and that's.
Well, have you ever been to the Cheesecake Factory?
Yes.
Their menu is ridiculous.
We did that on the ice.
Oh, yeah,
Super
yeah.
Bowl. We went there because BF Chang's was closed. Yeah. Wow. Appreciate all the response from everybody in the chat room as well. But great guest, Carl. You're right. So many people love him to death. Appreciate Phil Bennett, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. The city of Woodway, just around the corner, they have yet another event, and they do this not quite once a month, but they have events which are concerts and then also even like beer tasting. This one is the Woodway Wine Fest, featuring Jacko Pierce for only $200. For a limited time right now, enjoy a night of wine tasting, live music. A table, by the way, is what I meant, for $200. General tickets are only $35. You can go to discoverwoodway.com for more information. Discover Woodway, again, it is coming up on September the 9th. Today, right now, in fact, today, limited time, you can exclusively get an offer for a table of 8 for only $200. Go to discoverwoodway.com for more of that information. Enjoy a night of wine tasting, live music. Doors open at 6. For tasting, Jack O'Pear's concert begins at 8 o'clock. Again, general tickets, $35, but you have until tomorrow to go to discoverwoodway.com to have a chance to get an offer for a table of 8 for just $200. discoverwoodway.com.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
We kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves. Probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Mentioned Texas high school football starts tonight. We will be at Panther Stadium, Midway High School, which is just off of Hewitt Drive. We'll be doing the show from there, 3 until 6, and then the broadcast, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kick. And there's over 1,300 public schools. UIL is what the University Interscholastic League that runs high school sports in the state of Texas. There are private leagues as well, TAPS, et cetera, TCAL. But this was something I saw. Matt Stepp, who does a great job of covering high school football in the state, 27 6A. That means 6A is the highest enrollment level in Texas. 27 is the district. There's 32 districts in 6A. The district executive committee has ruled that San Marcos, the Rattlers, have a 2-year playoff ban due to allegations of recruiting. Sources have confirmed that San Marcos will appeal to the UIL SEC, which is the state executive committee. So can you imagine, and we saw this somewhere else, I thought, in the state of Texas, where somebody's out for 2 years. So they're about to start the season. Allegations, it seemed like it would be much more than just allegations. It seemed like there's probably some pretty heavy evidence, and their season is now, they can play it, but they can't make the playoffs.
I don't know. Like, this is interesting because of the way that high school football is going, where you got kids tweeting out, like, I'm transferring to so-and-so. Well, I mean, that's not like college where, there's a transfer portal. So your parents are moving, why? That those are the rules, and it's the way that things are going. I would assume that they're going to have to fight that a lot more, and maybe not be able to punish as many people and change the rules.
Well, if the school, if they did still do this, but even if the player, the parent, whoever, and I'm not trying to single out anybody, but if they sent text messages to another school or, that doesn't take you off the hook.
All right, you said they got in trouble for recruiting. If they're contacted by a parent or a player, they're not recruiting them, but if they sit there and reciprocate it or they go after somebody, they're recruiting. Don't go after a guy who's in another district. I mean, it's pretty simple, but as we all know in everything, somebody's got to be the winner, and somebody has to go get that extra edge. And so I guess allegedly somebody on that staff felt the need to allegedly have conversations with some alleged player about coming to that school. And, I don't even know how I feel. I hate it for the kids. It's another thing where the adults ruin it for the kids. And I think that sucks. That always sucks. But that's basically my main takeaway from it, because I don't know any of the details. I don't know the people involved. Do I absolutely believe that, or do I believe that there's schools out there that are recruiting behind the scenes and breaking rules? Yes, absolutely I do. But I don't know the details here. So if that's what they were doing, that's against the rules, and the district executive committee's got the right to make the determination that they want. And I wouldn't think that anybody on that committee is really like, hey, let's keep these kids out of the playoffs for 2 years, but you got to do something. And what else do you do? I don't know. But yeah, just wish adults would just let kids be kids and have their fun. And, was it worth it in the end to get that player, whoever that was? Nope. Did that really help you in any way? Because no, you're not even making the playoffs now, no matter what you do. So well done.
They're in a district which is Steele High School, which is outside of San Antonio on the northeast side. This is a school that's had a great history. They've been a little bit down and up in the last year. Judson, which missed the playoffs last year for the first time in 44 years, was one of the great legendary programs in the history of Texas. And Clemens, San Marcos, East Central, New Braunfels, it's obviously a district that they would have had a chance to make the playoffs. But
they did last year. They were 5-6 last year, and they made the playoffs. So, they would have been able to they're 5-5, I guess, in the regular season, lost their playoff opener, and probably would have, I don't know, assumed they would have done something similar. But I guess maybe they thought this one player would help them get further. I don't know. But now you don't even get to do it for 2 years. So if you're a sophomore in high school there, maybe by your senior year you get to play in the playoffs once again. But, for juniors and seniors, you're screwed, man.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
You probably had, I would think, absolutely nothing to do with what happened. So that's a crappy situation.
They open up. Yeah, no, it is. They open up against Hutto, who's in the district with Midway, by the way. And Midway will play Hutto first time ever. It's a new district with some teams old and now also some incoming schools as well. Man, that's awful. Garrett, you do the high school. You got a blog on my site that will start up again this week. With what game are you covering?
Well, this week I'm going to do Conley and Mahia. I'll produce and cover it. But next week I'll be out at Temple and Willis.
Okay, all right. And so wasn't there a story in Texas about somebody who's ineligible for a couple of years, similar to this?
I'm sure there is. I know Del Valle was doing some stuff like this a few years back, but there's always something going on. You go to Richland Springs at the 6-man level. I mean, there's tons of this. And the crazy thing was, this is Coach Walsh. He built the dynasty up there at Denton Geyer. We see players come in and out of schools like that all the time. So is this a situation where the past is catching up to you? I don't know. But it's just unfortunate for all the kids at hand.
Yeah, his son is a quarterback.
Yep.
Really good player.
And in the DFW, I think they all kind of maybe let some of this go a little bit more. Because
that's clearly happening,
because there's so much, transference of guys, because it's one of those things, like when the Fiesta Bowl got in trouble and they were like, yeah, we're going to take away your BCS status. And they're like, yeah, that's fine, but do we need to see everybody's books too? And they're like, sometimes we're just mad, we didn't mean it. And that's the same thing up there in the Dallas area with like, we're going to take you in front of the district council. And like, all right, yeah, we'll do that. But let's bring your quarterback up there too. And like, it's just, I'm being silly. Sometimes my emotions get the better of me.
No, it's weird what jobs seem to open up in really particular cities with great high school football programs in the Dallas area sometimes. It's like, wow, not Dallas where you got that job. It's like specifically in this town with this program. That's what are the odds of that happening? Yeah, that happens quite a bit, it seems like.
Yeah, Matt Stepp does a great job of covering Texas high school football, as so many do. It's 5:54.
It's never a 1A in El Paso they're transferring to. It's always some 6A 3-time defending state champion or something along those lines. It's wild stuff.
When we come back, Paul Catalina. Oh, we have one picture. I've had this for this is from Paul Bloss, who sent me this picture. He was on the show, remember, when they had the Open Championship. This is a barbecue restaurant in Rochester, Minnesota.
You showed us this, I think.
Yeah. No, we did not.
Yeah, you did.
Like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, like a long time ago.
Literally 2 weeks ago.
Well, Garrett wasn't paying attention either.
I don't remember showing it. I really don't.
I do.
I do. I just thought you kept talking about the barbecue. I thought there was a new photo of the barbecue restaurant. This is something we've done, or we're in a time loop.
This is what age can do to you.
Yeah.
Do you not remember it either?
Like we shared this in a text message. I don't think we were.
Jacob, we saw this, right? Yeah, I saw the look on your face. I knew it. I was like, yep, Jacob knows. Just
I'm trying to get them some business.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's really. What did I say last time? That's what I mean this time as well.
Yeah. I'm worried about you coming in and going, I don't know who we're going to vote for to replace Reagan.
I wish we didn't have to replace Reagan. All right, Paul's top 5 of the dumbest moments on this show, which I'll be 1 through 5 and 5 through 20 next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
At Allen Samuels, our great selection of new cars and trucks come with amazing deals and competitive financing that makes you ask, why shop anywhere else? During the Labor Day sales event at Allen Samuels, purchase a new 2022 Ram 1500 Crew Cab Lone Star and receive values up to $7,000, or choose 2.9% for 72 months and get $2,500 bonus cash and no payments for 90 days. Shop with us today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
It's summertime. There's picnics, reunions, cookouts, and so much to do. And Waco Custom Marketplace on Lake Air Drive in Waco is your home for the butcher shop that can help you with beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. They
are spectacular in being able to deliver you whatever cut of steak you want. Bone-in ribeye, however thick you want it, that's great. They'll do it. Sirloin, T-bone, porterhouse, bacon-wrapped filet. And of course, as I mentioned, they have pork, poultry, and seafood. Their Norwegian salmon is spectacular. Also, all of the sauces and seasonings you'll ever need, all the ingredients you'll ever need to make sure you have that perfect, flawless taste. So it's delicious whenever you take something off the grill. And a full-fledged bakery as well, with fresh baked bread and kolaches every single day. Up and down the aisle of Waco Custom Marketplace, you also have what you need, from knickknacks to snacks to more, at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, Waco Custom Marketplace.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, behind the bank.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Already filed under protest by our producer, Garrett Ross, because I left somebody off this list.
Yes, you did. It shouldn't have happened.
It was a little bit of recency bias.
We never ran, by the way, those pictures on the air. We only looked at them in a break. I just want to make sure we're on the record.
No. Craig, like there's a division. It's 3-2 with 2 abstaining.
Those, if they ever want to beat food ever again.
The guys that take
Here's the deal.
The hosts are apparently saying.
Here's what just happened. Craig and Jacob and I are being honest and telling you things, and then Smokey is pulling well, if you're really loyal to me, you'll lie about it.
I will buy you off.
Yeah. All right.
When are you running for a government position?
Yeah. Yeah. Top 5 all-time transfer QBs. Joe Burrow was left off this list. I will admit that he should have been on the list. But I had kind of an idea in my head when I was doing this to kind of build up a level to it, and he probably would have pushed everyone down.
You forgot about it?
I forgot about Joe Burrow. Yes.
Paul, I'll just say, I don't even know who's on your list, but there's no probably. He definitely would have been on the list.
He would have been on the list. He probably would have been number 1 or 2.
If you would have thought of him.
He would have been number 1 or 2. I didn't think of Joe Burrow, but he would have been number 1 or 2. But here's the top 5, and I was kind of going through some interesting ones, and one of them is a guy that nobody thinks about anymore, but he swung the balance of power in a league for a year, and that was Jacob Coker at Alabama, transferred from FSU. Won the national championship at Alabama. Alabama was kind of thirsty for a quarterback at the time, and Jacob Coker came in, finally won the job, and won the national championship in 2015. He would have started at Florida State the exact same year, but he transferred out to try and win the job at Alabama because he wasn't going to play in 2014 over Jameis Winston, the defending Heisman Trophy winner. But Jacob Coker came in, transferred, won a national title. So he jumped up on a list that should include Joe Burrow, I know, but and that would not include him if I had.
So Jacob would bump. He'd be bumped.
He'd be bumped.
He'd be off the island.
Yeah, because I did bump Troy Aikman off the list, but we'll get to that in a second. Number 4, Scott Frost. This one was for you, Smokey.
Yeah, no.
Scott Frost.
And his first year with Nebraska followed Behringer, and he
was perfect,
man, and he was perfect for the offense once he was able to get accustomed to it, because he's an incredible athlete. He was strong and physical. And,
I enjoyed watching Scott Frost run the offense.
Wasn't his mom an Olympian?
Hella fun to watch.
Yeah. Just running through dudes.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Had the big shoulder pads.
You can't run the option like that anymore if you're at school like that at this point. But I mean, when you could, and they could, it was a lot of fun to watch. And they had a great string of quarterbacks. And there's always going to be that what if with Brooks Behringer and kind of what could have happened there and whatnot. But Frost was an incredible replacement at the time for one of the greatest quarterbacks ever as far as a running quarterback goes in Tommy Frazier. And He just picked up the ball and ran with it literally, and he was great. He was a lot of fun to watch in Nebraska.
Frazier and Vince Young, perhaps the two quarterbacks that were the ones shunned by the Heisman as much as anybody.
Yeah, I think so.
And I'm not saying Eddie George was incredible, so don't get me wrong.
No, but Tommy Frazier was the most exciting player in college football.
I get the Eddie George pick, but like, come on, like, that's one of just many beasts of the Heisman.
Watching Tommy Frazier play was akin to me to watching Johnny Manziel, where like you didn't know it was about to happen, and it was awesome.
He was, and sometimes he could only carry the ball 3 or 4 times and not have any yards, but he was dynamic. The Florida game, but
that was my favorite. Number 3.
So was mine.
My best friend, I think, cried a little.
That was probably right before the SEC started to kind of, not quite right before, but
you're right.
Soon before they started to kind of take over their dominance.
Yeah, number 3, Russell Wilson. This is in the category of this was a fireable offense for Tom O'Brien at North Carolina State. Mike Glennon's parents got in Tom O'Brien's ear about Russell Wilson playing baseball in the summer and Mike Glennon being there in the summer program and how it's not fair that Russell Wilson should get to start over Mike Glennon. Well, here's the thing. Sometimes guys are just better and they can go do different things in the summer. Jimmy Johnson cut John Roper in a meeting one time because he fell asleep, and they asked what would happen if Emmitt Smith fell asleep. He said, I would give him a pillow, turn the lights down, and tell everybody to shut up. Like, so it's just different.
Ask him if he was comfortable.
So it's a little bit different, but sometimes you have to let guys know that there's examples. Well, Russell Wilson went to Wisconsin, won them a Rose Bowl, and I think the rest is history with him. And helped certainly the rest of the ACC was like, great, thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. We would love to play against Mike Glennon. We would love it. Thank you.
Yes.
Number 2, Baker Mayfield. And this is maybe to me, I think this is a great story of, and I'm a Baker guy, I admit it, but of just like fighting the system and going, none of this makes sense. And Baker really just climbed up the ladder, won the Heisman Trophy, became the first pick in the draft. Of course, I know there's more Baker haters out there than apparently there are Deshaun Watson haters, which I don't understand. But Baker Mayfield, to me, changed. I mean, he changed college football. He really did.
Oh no, and that was such a long drawn. It was the transfer. He had to win the appeal. Did he not?
Yeah, to get an extra year. And
I mean, it was a lot messier than that too. Yeah. I mean, Texas Tech certainly had a right to feel like he was kind of playing up that situation a certain type of way. Like oh, well, I was never ever going to get a scholarship, and they, like this whole disrespect card that he became kind of. I mean, he really lived off that and still does. Yeah. I think probably to far too much of an extent. But yeah, I mean, I know where Tech fans kind of have their gripes about how that was, I guess, portrayed. Because it basically, it was like Tech won't let him go and they won't give him a scholarship and they don't care for, it's like this whole thing. And they're like, no, it's like a little more complicated than that. But yeah, Oklahoma saw an opening and they were the benefactors of Mayfield looking around and deciding that he was disrespected by Kingsbury. And, obviously Mahomes played into that as well. And so, but yeah, Baker went to OU and did his thing and he was great. He was no Joe Burrow, but he was certainly a very, very good player. And, still probably one of the most popular Sooners there have been in a really long time.
Yeah. And number 1, Cam Newton. This one, well, you put the Blend logo on there, but you could also put the little chomps on there too. Cam Newton, to me, especially given what was going on in the rest of the team and some of the people that were on that Gator team, he got kicked off of Florida because, look, he should have been disciplined. Absolutely. He stole someone's laptop, and when the police came to ask him about it, he chucked it out the window. So not only was it a terrible crime, it was a stupid crime, and Cam Newton deserved to be punished. And he was kicked off of the Gators team. But that decision to kick him off, while some of the dudes that were on there, one of whom was Aaron Hernandez, led Florida to not winning another national championship since they kicked him off the team. And it led Auburn to their greatest season in history, and him being maybe the most dominant individual player in the decade that he played in college football. So while I am not excusing him stealing a laptop, I'm just saying that the judicial system on Urban Meyer's team makes no sense. In that he was kicked off the team and sent packing, and there were other guys who committed far worse crimes that we know about that got to stay. So, Cam Newton, number one, of course, won at Blinn, won the national championship at Blinn.
So who kicked him off the team?
Urban did.
Did he really?
Yes.
There was nothing like it was an administrative thing. He was the one that said goodbye.
No, I mean, there was Florida was, I mean, he had like academic issues that were also, and it's like a 3 strikes thing, basically, was also playing into it from what I remember. And it was like, I don't know, maybe like a Josh Gordon thing where it's like, we just can't do anything. Like we've given him all his free passes. Like we just have to, at this point, go a different direction. I think it was something like that.
Yeah. But also when he was kicked off the team, Tim Tebow was still the quarterback. So in that, I think part of it was they just never thought that there was going to be, and they thought there's just be another guy. Well, sometimes there's not. And, there were other guys around him who were getting charged with criminal acts and then, had that a great lawyer and all this stuff going on. It just, again, never made sense to me. Why that one, especially in hindsight. I get the academic part of it, but
he was amazing. That Auburn team, man. I would love to see like a secondary level of the transfers.
Honorable mention was Troy Aikman. UCLA, because UCLA hasn't had back-to-back 10-win seasons since Troy Aikman left. And that's been a very long time. He's already in the NFL Hall of Fame and won 3 Super Bowls with the Cowboys. So a lot of things have not happened since Troy Aikman left places. So I'm worried about what's going to happen to the Fox Corporation, not just with ESPN.
Man.
When Troy Aikman leaves, you've got droughts coming.
Yeah, Miami beat them 27-14, and that led to Jamel Holloway and obviously a national championship with him in '85.
And, of course, my apologies to Joe Burrow. You should really be on the list. Sorry about that.
That's too late.
It's too late now.
Levi, thank you. Also, Emery and Garrett for having my back on the Smoke Barbecue Pictures. Jacob will talk, and these two here, Craig and Paul, may be here tomorrow. They love to not be here tomorrow. We'll be live at a high school football stadium on Fridays, and tomorrow it's Panther Stadium. For Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina, for all of you in the chat room, the text line, and our amazing sponsors, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.